Well, this bloody battery don't run out neither. Yeah. No. Okay, so peace and love to everyone listening. Assalamu alaikum to the Muslims. Basically, it's like this.
Sorry, fam.
What I
Sorry, fam. Yo, stick a pin. What I done, all of that, what I was just talking there, only you could air that still. Cause my mic was on mute for the viewers
oh,
still, so I'm gonna have to repeat that again still. Yes, so
go
um, this is the review / part 2 of the conversation that took place in the part where the debate between Shaka and Issa on the Malcolm X thing, but people who have been complaining, I've noticed complaints, and I anticipated them about the title in and of itself, and I was reluctant to call it that, but Shakara agreed to have the discussion on those terms. But my objection came from the premise needing to be proved in the first place before man go along with it, i.e. Sunni Kunism. I believe it needs to be debated in and of itself. If there is a such thing as Sunni Kunism, what do you mean by that? Before man go on to discuss if Malcolm X is the leader of that. So that was my objection. But as I said, Shakara agreed with it, not with the Sunni Kunism, but he agreed to enter the discussion on such terms. So the discussion took place. But now we got Issa in the building.
Yeah, but there.
Shakara's back as well. But yeah, we want Issa to explain how he came up with and why he came up with the title and subject of discussion.
Okay, peace and love to the family, and Assalamu alaikum to the Muslims. Basically, what it was is that obviously the experience that we're having in the park and basically across the world is that there are a lot of racial issues coming up when it comes to blacks and, let's say, Sunnis. And for me, the problem I'm seeing is the people that are on pro-blackness and they're allying with Sunnis. That's the main thing. And I'm like, hold on a minute. How is it that somebody's pro-black can ally with somebody who's on a neo-Nazi anti-black ideology? So I'm looking into the thing that even made me and convinced me or hoodwinked me to a degree towards seeing it like, yeah, this thing actually can be seen as a pro-black ideology. And you go back and you find it's Malcolm X is the main person, the main image that we have in our head, the main role model, if you like, that we look to, that we've looked to, that we can see as pro-black and also validate this thing. Do you get me? So I thought this is the key thing here. So that's why the title that we presented originally was founder and not leader. But when we got to the park, unfortunately, that wasn't remembered, and it was the main founder. So, but it was the main.
See the way you just phrased it there. The title that we presented. I don't think anybody else came up with the title other than you, or presented it as an idea.
Oh, what I mean by that is it, as in spoken of. Yeah, so you could say
because that's what we're discussing now. Why the title is the way it is. You get me? That's what we're discussing now. For a brief introduction to the introduction. You get me?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is basically that once it's, and I agree. Actually, I agree with exactly what you said. which was we would need to discuss what is Sunni Kunism. Now, if you remember, I suggested to Shakra to have two other brothers, right, who are Sunni-ish, if you like, but at least one is fully aware of what Sunniism is about. And he could also speak on Malcolm and West African, if you like, Sunniism. So that was the reason I asked for that person to be part of the debate. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. That I was hoping that we would have got this Malcolm issue out of the way, or it would have actually led to that discussion as being part of it. So what is Sunni Kunism? What's meant by that? But somehow we got caught up more in Malcolm being a leader.
Perhaps we can. Perhaps we can. I feel that that's a discussion that definitely needs to take place as well. You get me? So perhaps we can do that next week if anyone's up for that. Any Sunnis listening?
Well, to be sorry, go on.
Nah, yeah, go on. That's what I'm gonna say. Still,
I want to say firstly why I agreed to take part in the conversation for some context. Firstly, greetings, one and all, Tendai Mwari. You know what I'm saying? Be thankful to the Most High, our Father, creator of the universe. Give praises unto our great ancestors. The ancestors thing is basically the reason why man decided to get involved in this thing. When it comes to our ancestors, like I take it personal, but you see, there's few that I take more personal than this man, like Omawale Malcolm X. So my major thing, I'm not a Muslim of any description. And so my major thing was about the legacy of Omawale Malcolm X and the defense of that. I had an idea of where Issa might be going with it, but the perspective was also the angle that he was coming at may have been different to how most people come at that angle. So I thought it was important being somebody, an adherent, let's say, to the political legacy of Malcolm X, to partake in the conversation and hopefully bring some clarity on what Malcolm X was actually standing for, because I'm already aware that there's a lot of distortion with regards to it. I do take the point in terms of we should have defined Sunni Kunism first, and to be quite frank, that is a question I had intended to ask at the beginning. So I have spoken to Tahaka already long time ago about facilitating some conversation with regards to Black Power ideologies, Pan-Africanism, and Islam in all its different shades and variations. You know what I'm saying, and seeing how that pans out. I have some suggestions around that also, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, for me, because the Malcolm X was put up as the founder. Oh, and if you watch the debate, I was trying to figure out, because I remembered that leader wasn't the word that was used before. I said father, and I was wrong. It was founder. So, but either way, I'm still refuting the premise. So that's my particular position. And if it wasn't clear in the video, then maybe this is the opportunity to provide more clarity. Big up Scattered Minds in the chat. You don't know.
Yeah, well, Scott, if you want to jump on as well, fam. I don't know if the man really want to get into that right now still, what is Sunni Kunism, or if man just want to just continue and do the part 2. I don't know, Issa, did you finish explaining your part in terms of the title?
Sorry, I'm muting myself. One of the things that needs to be clarified, and this is the thing that I was hoping didn't happen, but Shakara fell into the same trap or problem that has been created by other people. And that is, when I'm talking about Sunni, it's not Sunni versus Shia. If I'm talking about the anti-Black aspects of Sunniism, it's Sunni versus Black. So the response should never be, well, the Shia this or the Shia that. Because number one, I don't classify myself as a Shia. I say Islam of the Quran. The only reason I stopped using it in that way is because everyone else started to think, well, you're a Quranist. Do you understand? So, I was like, okay, so I just used to say, well, I'm similar to Shia. I'm 99% have 99% a position that's in common with the Shia. But I always say the Islam of the Quran. I'm a Muslim who follows the Islam of the Quran. It's that simple. So when people are telling me, like, for instance, in the comments, was it Rashid Goodal, I think his name is, if he's telling us that Gulf Arabs, Iraqis, and all these other people have enslaved Black people, The point is, you could never prove that that's a part of the religion that's the Islam of the Quran. Do you get what I'm saying? I can prove that that is part of Sunniism. That's the difference. If you're telling me that a bunch of Shias are doing this or a bunch of Shias are doing that, that's nothing to do with the conversation. I'm telling you the ideology and the practitioners go hand in hand with what they're doing. Do you understand? So that's a big difference right there. Do you see what I'm saying? So
I do want to say though, I don't recall that it was me that brought the Sunni versus Shia dynamic into the conversation. Yeah, my defense was not of Sunniism, but Malcolm X, in that respect. And so and because I have some understanding of Malcolm X's relationship with the Muslim religion, I was attempting to put that in perspective based on my understanding of that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't really have a dog in the Sunni Shia conflict, except to say I don't particularly view one as superior to the other necessarily in its relationship to black people, except for the fact that the majority of Muslims are Sunni, and so therefore there is more historical information to go on with regards to that side of things. But yeah, that's really I don't really have intention with Sunni or Shia. But I will say though, I resist the idea that that I or anybody should, because of the conviction that somebody has with regards to that Brother Isa has with regards to not referring to Sunniism as he puts it as Islam, that one should not be. One should be jacketed to that definition. I do resist that significantly partly because that is not my contention. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really in the fight of whether Sunni or Shiaism is real Islam, because the Sunnis are going to tell me not to call Shiaism Islam at all, and vice versa. I'm not really into that. So yeah.
Oh, let me see if you get it clear this time, brother, because I said this before, right? And it's on camera. I'll say it again. I said that what the pattern has been is that you lot, when you're referring to Sunnis, you say Muslims, and when you're referring to us, you say Shias. So I said, say Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims. That way, you're not being biased either way. Do you understand? I will continue to say the Sunnis, you know who I'm talking about. And when I say the Muslims, I'm referring to us. But all I've asked for you lot when you do that, rather than you being biased as you have been, is you're saying the Muslims for the Sunnis and the Shias for us. Do you understand? Yeah. So that's all of us.
I'll be honest, your point is a fair one. If that's not how I've understood it before, but it's clear now. And I'm not sure I'm guilty of that particular infraction, but that's fine. If you identify that I am, I don't have really a problem with correcting it. So yeah, Muslims and Sunni Muslims it is.
Okay, brilliant. So brilliant.
I think during the discussion, a lot of the time that when you was making reference to Muslims, it was just that. Still, I didn't hear no distinction. Still,
so, if I'm referring to Malcolm X, yeah, if I say Muslims, I'm not differentiating between Sunni or Shia. It just so happens that we're discussing Malcolm X and some of his.
Yeah, I think that's what Issa's point was, though, is because Issa was specifically talking about that he believes Sunni Islam is a detrimental for black people. So
no, I know, but if I say Malcolm X conversion to Islam and a man corrects me and says Sunniism, just what I'm saying, like, or you know what I'm saying, or I say Orthodox Islam and a man says no, Sunniism. Like, if a man converted to Shia Islam, I'm gonna say converted to Islam too. Is my point. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you still. I don't think you're intentionally trying to lump all Muslims sex into one thing, but like I said, true man's trying to be scientific with the thing and precise in particular.
Man will be clear in it. If I'm able to know to differentiate between whatever particular sector.
But that was Shaka. Imagine that's the title of the debate, yeah? Because obviously, if I'm saying he's the leader or the founder of the Sunni Kun thing, and I'm a Muslim, then obviously I'm saying there's an alternative, right? But he's led them in that direction.
Point
So
taken.
obviously the whole is governed by that differentiation.
Point taken. Point taken. I'm not
No,
really,
that's,
point taken.
no, that's, but what I will say, yeah, you may not remember, you brought it up when you said something like, that Malcolm had some contact with Shia Muslims. I think you said, number one, and number two, you asked me about, do I know about a group of Shia's leaders or something in a period, I think it was early 1900s. So you mentioned the period, so you mentioned it twice in a sense.
No,
But
I didn't refer to Shiism or Sunniism. I'm saying that I don't think I was the one who brought it into the conversation. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I did speak to it. I'm just saying I'm not aware that I was the one who introduced the Sunni versus Shia dynamic into the conversation. And if
okay,
I
from what
it's not a problem, you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
what I'm trying to get the pattern of, and people keep trying to make it a personal thing to me. I'm saying, even if I'm not there, if you lot are having a conversation about something, you need to differentiate. Otherwise, you're going to end up looking silly when you say Muslims believe, and then a big group says no, we don't, and they point to the Quran, and you find the Quran says the opposite of what you've said Islam teaches. Do you see? That's how far it's going to go, and that's my point. It's going to look absolutely ridiculous when
That's
you literally say Islam teaches that. Somebody points you to clear verses in the Quran, and it's exactly the opposite.
That's cool, bro. Yeah, like I said, my for this particular debate, my contention was not necessarily what Islam says, but what Malcolm X said, and what Malcolm X was doing. You know what I'm saying? And within that context, there is a context to his, leaning towards what he referred to as the orthodox religion of Islam. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and I think that's necessary to put in context, because the subject is whether Malcolm X is the founder or the leader of a particular school of thought, a particular idea. And so yeah, that's what really was dealing with, innit? You know what I'm saying? I leave the Muslim to settle the scores between what is true Islam and not true Islam. You know what I mean?
No, but here's the issue. One thing I was thinking about is, after the playing of the debate earlier and the comments, is that it seems one of the major issues is not just the word leader, but what your understanding of Sunni and Sunni Kun. So it seems, I'm saying, one of the main issues and the problems with, let's say, your responses to what I'm saying is what your understanding of the word leader, or what I would say misunderstanding of the word leader, and then your misunderstanding or lack of knowledge in regards to Sunniism and therefore Sunni Kun. Because like you're saying now, you'll leave that to us. But I'm saying, if you're going to debate this topic, you would need to know a hell of a lot. Do you get what I'm saying? Because how are you going to debate yes or no to that subject? Because at the moment, if we be honest, if I say to you that Sunniism is worse than the KKK and neo-Nazi, be real. You don't actually believe that if I say that, do you?
No, I don't. I don't see it as worse than that. I think if we're talking about on the scales of oppression to Black people, I don't think there's a scale of worse than in relation to those two things. But you're comparing an entire ideology to a group of a particular ideology. So the KKK were Christians, and so within that context, anti-Blackness has existed in Christianity for donkeys years and centuries and generations, yeah. And so they have picked up on it and created a particular expression of that, you know, in relation to African people and things African. And if you're saying that the Sunni religion is a similar ideal in relation to Black people, that can be demonstrated in terms of how these people have related to Black people over the years. I'm not going to disagree with you. You know what I'm saying? That we're not going to have that, but I'm not really going to put it on a scale of what's worse, except for the fact that when we are in different areas of the world, one may affect us more than the other.
No, I totally hear that. It's just, what my point is that your head will not be able, it will be difficult, I believe, for you to understand that Sunniism is like neo-Nazism or the KKK, and that Malcolm ever gave that any second thought. So obviously, you know, in your head, you're going to be like, well, it can't be that bad, because Malcolm X endorsed it to at least some degree, that he had a mosque and he was the man in this thing. You know what I mean? So obviously that's what I'm saying. I feel is coming from you. And I think, you know, as Brother Leon said, that debate needs to happen. That discussion. What Leon? What was the title you gave for that? Is Sunniism detrimental to black people, or
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
What was
yeah,
it you said?
yeah. Is it like systematically or something like inherently, or it would have to be explicit. Like it can't be
Mm.
interpreted as based upon whoever's interpretation. It would have to be demonstrably probably. Is it demonstrably?
Inherently is the word I is.
Yeah,
The,
detrimental to black people.
mm,
Nah,
mm,
'cause I want man
yeah,
to
yeah.
I want man to be able to demonstrate that it is, and
That's what I mean.
I want to see like sources where they're instructed, because it's like through this debate you done a bit of it still when you said in West Africa they adopted a school of Islam that teaches them to pay less dowry to black women because they're considered less attractive than other women.
Right.
So like if you show man the sources for that, then that's indisputable.
Mm.
Innit?
Mm.
So
Well,
now man's
thing.
gonna say in this aspect at least, then we can then it will be a matter of to what degree. Is it to a degree that we have to write off the whole thing, or is it something, as you said, where we can just cut out certain parts of it and still keep the main part of the or the message? You get me?
Exactly. This is yeah.
Yeah.
Now what?
Go.
Sorry, go.
No, it's like go.
Yeah, what I was saying was what's happening is, because I wanted some Sunnis to be there to join the debate, I would have brought more information out if a Sunni had been there. So this is why I feel that debate that Leon's mentioning needs to happen, and off the back of that, maybe this thing here will probably be obvious. Do you get what I'm saying?
I'm hoping
it's
man will come, you know, but the thing is as well, obviously you've heard it 1,000 times still. It's like the choice of man's words and all of them things there. It kind of gives man, I ain't gonna say gives man a reason, as if they weren't like they don't want to have it just without, even if he was being polite or respectable in your words when you're addressing man. But that like man's gonna have to have thick skin in order to have an intellectual discussion with man, because you're gonna be calling man coon and rare. Like,
don't say that. No.
I don't know.
Listen.
But that's how you talk though when you're ready, innit? And that's the title of this one. You get me? Gets
No,
people's
listen,
back
alright,
up
but
before
even-
man can even consider entertaining, sitting down and discuss. Because you might have some valid things to say. You get me? But when man is airing, I'm not gonna go and listen to a man, even if they're gonna be telling me a bag of truth and that. I'm not gonna go and listen to a man like by choice. You every 2 seconds want to be calling me nigga this and coon this and rare.
Alright.
You get me?
Can we define Sunni Coonism, please?
Say again?
What do you say?
Can we define Sunni Coonism?
Hold on, let me just respond to what Leon was doing there. Leon, is it true or is it false? When I'm having a discussion or a debate with somebody that's well mannered, I am well mannered back, no matter who it is.
Yeah. For the most, yeah. I'll
So-
say that. But like I said, there weren't no Sunnis in this thing. But just the title of the discussion is Sunni Coonism. Automatically, that's getting man up. You get me? So man ain't gonna want to have that debate. Like that's what I'm saying. If man wanna have the debate on Sunni Coonism, if there's such a thing, man ain't gonna be able to call it. Is there such a thing as Sunni Coonism? It's gonna have to be. Is it detrimental to black people? 'Cause I feel that communicates the same message as
Same
Sunni
thing.
Coonism. But Sunni Coonism to me is like you're trying to inject some malice into it. I don't know, but that's my perspective.
Not malice. You're trying to be accurate to the T. But I hear what you're saying. And my point is, even if it's called that, just like, for instance, I said Malcolm X is a leader, but not once did you ever hear me call Malcolm X a coon. Likewise, if I was debating a Sunni, I don't need to refer to them as a coon and them as a non-Muslim or a kafir or any of that. We're debating a subject. Do you get what I'm saying?
I
So
hear you
it's
still.
very easy.
But you see,
And
but
to be honest,
yeah, go on.
it's an excuse that people use, despite the amount of videos where you're seeing me calm. People come and say something. Then when I respond, they want to say, "Look at my manners." I'm saying, well, what about the guy that said this before I said that? Do you get what I'm saying? So that's the thing we have to be consistent with.
I'm
What
not
is the
arguing that.
pattern?
I don't think you've ever heard me tell you don't respond to a man however you feel like when they're coming, like especially the uncle on the sideline throughout the video as well. I think even before this, like he was going from you man was on a different subject. You get me? Kept on introducing man and telling man to in politer words to F off, and he was telling man bare things. You get me, sir? He was trying to get your attention and distract you and rear, sir. I work. Yeah, go on.
People like him, they will do this, right? And then come and give me salam and want to talk nice to me the week later. And this is the point where I get really angry with these people. I'm saying we're having a very important discussion for our people. You understand? And this is what gets me mad when we all don't stop what we're doing to tell these people be quiet. And then we want to talk to them like they're brethren. If they're doing that, they don't respect none of us. It's not just me. Do you understand my point? Because there's other people, even what's the other guy, the white guy that was there, the Roman or whatever, whatever he is. Even he calmed his little self down when he realized it was like, boom, this is a serious thing. Do you get what I'm saying? But then this other guy, this dotish man, he want flipping keep up his thing.
No, cause he's got
we need to check.
He's holding grudge against man. I don't know you and him, your interactions. I don't know how far back they go. I don't know if he initiated the fuckery towards you or if it's him airing you, calling his thing coolism and dogs and rear.
Brother, it's always them who initiate. But what my whole point is that he will come talking to me nicely. It's not the first time I know this time. But the week after, he'll be like, Isa, how are you? You should do this. And start smiling and giggling with me. Do you see my point? And that's what I'm saying. These people are ludicrous, bruv. They're mad. You get what I'm saying? They think it's a joke. And that's what I'm saying. You have to show them this.
All I'm saying is we want to have the intellectual conversation. You're the intellect, innit? That's the black tellect, sorry. You're the black tellect, you hear me? We want to have these intellectual conversations, and we want to be able to address especially controversial topics that are I say the elephant in the room questions that are serious in terms of the impact or the effect that they're having on our lives or potentially could, but are shied away from because it's such a sensitive topic or issue. You get me? I want to be able to have these conversations seriously and what's the word I'm looking for? Honestly, with good spirit. You get me? So the way we choose to engage each other, we have to not necessarily tread on eggshells, but like I said, try to leave as much malice out of it as possible. Man can bust two joke when you can. You know when you're talking with someone, you feel them out, and you get an idea of what's their tolerance, how far they can go with the thing. Me, I can go all the way there, fam. But if I don't feel like the next person's ready, and they're gonna get offended and start crying or they got a low tolerance for fuckery, I'm not gonna go there with them because that's not my intention to ignite that from them. You get me? I'll have the discussion on whatever level I feel like they can handle. You get me? So that's what I'm saying. As who I believe is the responsibility for whoever's the most willing to have the discussion and the most intellectual. It's the responsibility for them to have the most discipline and respect and set a precedent. You get me? Of how the discussion is supposed to run. You get me? So that's what I'm saying. Still, enough time I hear you talk and I hear you say bare things that like you sound like you thought things through a lot. You get me? Like when you're playing chess. I don't know if you play chess. When you're playing chess and you're playing against someone, you're doing some erratic moves. It seems like they're doing some erratic moves, but it's only when you're like 10 moves down you realize the reason I coming down those erratic moves in the beginning. You're a man who sometimes when I follow your logics, it looks crazy at the beginning, and then at the end I'm like, I see what you're talking about now. So I know. Yes. So I'm interested in having discussions and seeing discussions with you in it. You get me? But as I said, fam, when man comes with the shaggy and all of them thing there, it throws off the opponent, whoever you're talking to, and it makes them apprehensive to even engage with you in the first place. You get me? So man, everybody's missing out. Everybody's missing out. You get me? So yeah, that's something to consider still.
But let me just say this, yeah. When you're thinking that someone's apprehensive and don't want to debate, you have to remember those same people would debate another Shia or another Muslim, right? If they knew they was less knowledgeable than me, regardless of how rude or whatever else. So they use that as a cover and excuse because they're fully aware that once we engage in a conversation, it doesn't go that way. Do you see my point? So it's just see it as an excuse. Do you get what I'm saying? This reputation that certain sellouts have tried to build up around me, where as what's his name, Jordan, the devil, tried to portray. I said I bulldoze conversations.
We ain't gotta mention no one's name, fam, especially if it's derogatory. You get me? Let them come on there.
Okay.
If you feel like you want to come on there, and then it'll be the same in reverse. If a man wants to start calling you a name and disrespect you, man, I wouldn't want to add that. You get me?
No problem.
Yeah.
I didn't have that level of respect, but fair enough. Yeah. Your platforms are open for everybody. Yeah. So okay, with certain people, were saying I bulldoze conversations. Now, all of this is relating to stereotypes and just a build-up of slander. You don't find me coming up to conversation and just butting in, because it don't make sense. I'm an intelligent person. You always find me standing there for a bit. I normally ask the people listening, what's this about? Do you get what I'm saying? It's just a normal thing to do. But they want to carry that stereotype and promote this slanderous lie as an excuse not to debate me. So, for instance, when they know that certain people are running, two people, one very tall person, a shorter person with curly hair, right? No names, right? The reason why they don't debate me, allegedly, some people would say, not that these two people say it themselves, is because of my mannerisms. Do you get what I'm saying? So once they've built up this thing, then it becomes an easy excuse. Who would debate him because of his rudeness and because of this and because of that? Do you get what I'm saying?
Perhaps,
but yeah, in actual fact,
I'm not even saying I disagree with, man. But all I'm saying is, to the sincere people that are watching and seeing all of these debates and discussions, it would be easier for them to be convinced of your narrative if they never had that to stand on. You get me? That, like, if they never saw no evidence of you wilding out. I know, like I said, a lot of the time, like you said, a lot of the times, most of the times, it's in response to a man trying to distract man or come at man sideways or something like that. You get me? But as I was saying, especially for man to have a discussion with somebody who ain't even your opponent in that sense, but then title the thing the way man titled it, and people was coming at me for titling it. You get me? Because obviously it's my channel, innit? So man, like, rah, I'm moving like I'm anti-Muslim, and I take your point on that. They never said anti-Shia, they said anti-Muslim. I mean, they never said anti-Sunni, they said anti-Muslim. So they don't really consider your thing to be Muslim, innit? But like I said,
saying to you, brother,
don't give them an inch is my thing still.
But just think about this though, bro. Isn't it very hypocritical of certain people to have a go at me for speaking in that manner when we speak against, or collectively a lot of black people and a lot of Asian stuff speak against Tommy Robinson and these other people who behave in the same way against us, and that's accepted and welcomed. Do you understand? I'm saying we can demonstrate the same behavior from these Sunnis towards us as black people as we can demonstrate from the KKK and everyone else. So how is it we're supposed to speak, it's okay to speak about them as this devil and the racist and all of that stuff, but when it comes to well, that's just some of them, and that's just this. We could
have a conversation on that still, but if we're gonna have that conversation, it shouldn't be because we're making excuses for our behavior. I'm saying we should set ourselves a standard and stick to it regardless, you get me, of what anyone else is doing. That's what I believe.
No, what I'm saying to you, it is an acceptable standard, but my point is that it becomes something where they make a double standard because it's their thing. They want to turn the blind eye. And my point of the Sunni Kunism is actually a good point to bring in right now. It's where, because they've got black Sunnis that side with them when it comes to the criticism of the anti-black nature of Sunnism, that's where they feel comfortable to run their mouth. And because these black Sunni coons can also get the support from non-black Sunnis, do you understand? Against a black power, black intellect like myself. Do you see my point? And that's where that Sunni coonism comes in. Because they're using...
Sorry for him to cut, man. You see, every time I've heard man talk about Sunni coonism and rare, nothing ain't never stuck, like, convinced me as much as when you told me, not when you told me, in the discussion with Shaka, when you mentioned that there's a certain sector, Sunni Islam, or certain West Africans have adopted, that said that the woman is to get less dowry because they're considered less attractive, the black woman. Like, you ain't got a cool man a coon after that, fam. It's like when people ask me if I believe Tommy Robinson's racist, or if I call anybody racist. I'm like, me, I don't like labels. It don't really. I want to see the ingredients, fam. Show me the ingredients, and then I don't care what you call it. I know what the ingredients are. You get me? So all I need to do is demonstrate, rather than just calling my names, fam. This is what I'm saying, and the demonstration will be enough to like it's undisputable. Then you get me?
No. It doesn't work that way for the majority of people, bruv. How it works is a thing. For instance, when they say Muslim extremists, there's a reason why the word extremist. You know what I mean? When they put, Muslim terrorists or Islamists or something else, there's a reason why those words are there. So if you just say Sunni, and I show this thing, because prevalently Sunni is seen as a sect of Islam, a legitimate majority sect of Islam, so much so that people call it Islam. If you don't put out the fact of its coolness for those that it represents, yeah, or its anti-blackness for it as a whole, yes, then people are going to see, they don't know. A lot of people don't know how to assess the evidence, because the Sunni will come along and just like somebody did, like a specific Sunni did, and just his excuse was, oh yeah, but they just took that bit out and just followed the rest in it, as if that's some explanation. But when I asked Shaka, he agreed. You bun the lot. You think I'm going to take anything from the head of a school of thought that said that? Your whole idea, all your ideas can go in the garbage after you said that. Do you see what I'm saying to you? So I'm saying part of the evidence of the Sunni Kunism is exactly that. Don't you get it? Do you see my point? Like, once you're saying something like that.
What I'm saying though, like, I always say as well, the truth is the truth, regardless of who speak. No one ain't got a monopoly on the truth, innit? And just because somebody has come with something that's partially tainted, it don't mean that anything else afterwards that's going to come out their mouth isn't beneficial information for me. So right, I would be wary. I would be wary of adopting something that comes partially with a message of you look ugly or your women's are ugly. I'll be extremely critical, and I'll have one big eye and magnifying glass all over that. You get me? But it doesn't mean that if I come across something within that while I'm searching that I believe is beneficial and truthful, that I'm going to disregard it.
No. Okay, let me explain what we're talking about. We're talking about the implementation of that man's school of thought on the rest of your land, bruv. We're not talking about you coming along and you reading a book and you saying, well, this man said black people are inferior, and then you're going to ignore the rest of his book. No, we're talking about where this man, you're filtering Islam or the Quran and the Sunnah through this man's mind and his writings. You're now going to they've implemented that through the government of West African systems. Do you understand? And that's why you find this skin bleaching cream friggin' prevalent amongst these people, bruv, because of things like that. That's why you found Darfur and all of this thing, all of that going on in these parts of Africa. Do you understand? So I'm saying they've laid the foundation for this. There's loads of the main problem you lot seem not to be watching is they don't tell you the full story. Do you remember when I kept on going on about Somalis and asking them what they think? Are they black or not? And then everyone said, what's your problem with Somalis? What's your problem with Somalis? It was just so that the conversation could be real, that rather than brothers keep trying to enforce on Somalis that they're black, they're the same as us, let them speak for themselves and identify themselves. Do you get me? Because a lot of them will not come forth to you and say, you know what, back home, you're seen as an inferior monkey to us. Do you get what I'm saying? Which a lot of them have that perspective. But I'm saying they don't tell you the truth. This is my whole bloody point. They hide so much information, and it's part of their culture. It's part of their religion to do taqiyya in this manner. Even though they're not in fear of their life, they're doing taqiyya and lying to the non-Muslim. That's just second nature. That don't mean nothing. You're kuffar. That don't mean nothing to them. You get what I'm saying? So it's this really why they don't like me a lot is because I used to be Sunni. Obviously, I know things in depth. As a Sunni who is similar to Malcolm when he used to be Nation of Islam. Who better can speak on that than him? Do you get what I'm saying? So, and like I said, I used to be out there giving leaflets with my long garments and my beard and the rest of it, my tooth stick, the whole blooming lot, bro. Do you get what I'm saying? So, yeah, man.
All right. Shakara, what are you saying? You want to jump in? You want to add in anything on?
Yeah, bro. Like I said, my personal contention was the legacy of Malcolm X. That's all man was really on. And as far as him being a Muslim, yeah, I see it as there's many of our great ancestors over the last 400-500 years, yeah, that were of as an African spiritualist, I consider that I have a perspective, yeah, on the impact of Abrahamic religions on African people, African culture, and African spirituality in general. And so nobody is above that critique of that perspective, including Omwale Malcolm X, including Martin Luther King, including Marcus Garvey, including anybody that's the man's going to hail up as a great ancestor. At the end of the day, I understand, yeah, the process by which we became indoctrinated into these religions one way or another. And so my critique I put my critique of the system into context with how we as a people adopted said religions and the context that those ancestors will have been manifested within. Yeah. So if I consider, and you know, there is enough evidence of the idea that anti-blackness is pervasive, yeah, in Christianity and the Christian religion, especially in terms of how we were taught it, yeah, as African people. There is no real dichotomy to be made between white supremacy as we were taught it and the Christian religion as we were taught it. Yeah, but if I look at one of my ancestors who was a Christian and them kind of things there, but fought for the liberation of black people, then I put it into that perspective. Yeah, I put it and assess things according to that, and understand that that they were not necessarily consciously seeking to promote anti-blackness, or they were not adhering to an ideology that they considered to be anti-black inherently. You know what I'm saying? They may have seen what most people in Abrahamic religions will tell you is that the religion is this, but people misuse it for that. Yeah, and that's how a lot of them would have seen it. But in the case of Malcolm X, I think it's quite specific because he has a particular journey and a particular understanding within the context of our people in North America at that time that I think should be understood and taken into consideration. And so that is the context in which I was in a sense defending Omwale Malcolm X. I took it personally because I don't associate the name Omwale Malcolm X with anything approaching Coonism. Yeah, anything associated with Coonism. The term Coonism and Omwale Malcolm X, as far as I'm concerned, should not be said in the same sentence as applicable to each other. And so that is what my contention really is. And that is what I was kind of refuting, you know what I'm saying? So the idea of Sunni Coonism, any kind of Coonism, I don't care what kind of Coonism it is, Omwale Malcolm X is not that, yeah? And it's not the leader of that, the founder of that, you know what I'm saying? The promoter of that, yeah, it's not that, you get me? And I don't think there's anything in his legacy that can bear that to be the truth.
No,
Okay.
but this why I asked for clarity at the end as well. When man saying he's the leader of it, is it direct? Like, is he intentionally leading it, or indirectly, unwittingly? So,
and I'm saying neither. Yeah, I'm saying absolutely neither. And I'm saying right that there is a.
So that means that you're arguing that you don't believe that there's such a thing as Sunni Coonism.
No, I'm saying that Malcolm X was not a witting or unwitting proponent of any form of Coonism, be it Sunni or otherwise. That's what I'm saying.
I think you even went as far as to say that he weren't even proposing Islam for black people per se.
I'm saying that his program and his agenda was not the promotion or adoption of Islam for black people. That was not his primary agenda.
Okay.
That's not to say that he didn't think Islam was good for black people.
Yeah,
that's not to say that he didn't think that Islam could provide a foundation for moral strength and character, and that the religion, in terms of its disciplines, yeah, would help, yeah, and assist black people. I'd even go as far as to say that because of his experiences in Africa with Islam, he may have seen that Islam has a potential to link up African people in a certain kind of way. Does that mean that he was promoting Sunni Coonism? That is the question. And even in spite of some of the statements that he made, did those to what extent do we see those statements reflected in his agenda, his program, what he was trying to put in place, what he was building following the time that he made those statements? Yeah, these are the things that I think we have to take into consideration if we're going to answer a question like, is Malcolm X the founder or leader of Black Sunni Kunism? Yes, these are very strong. It's a very strong premise. And if we're gonna accuse our great ancestor of being that, then we need to substantiate it beyond the shadow of a doubt. I don't think that we can.
Okay, so here's the issue. I didn't want to do this online. I wanted to do this face to face. What is a leader, bruv?
Well, bro, I suggest you define it, innit? Because you come up with the question. So, but I would say loosely, a leader is a person who, well, as Marcus Garvey said, a leader is a person who has followers. But what it means is that you are the principal person in terms of guiding people towards a particular idea or program.
But that's not this is my point. That's not necessarily so. So my point is that once there is a certain following for a particular individual, now this could be in regards to scientific discovery, so DNA or archaeology and carbon dating. So we, for instance, might rely on people to give us DNA evidence of mummies, archaeological information regarding Kemet, and they become our leaders in regards to the information. Likewise, when you have a leader like Malcolm X, where many people are following him, you're thinking of it from the perspective of Malcolm X and the intention of Malcolm X. I think this is where the problem lies. You're talking about Malcolm X and his agenda and his intention. I'm talking about the people, meaning because they were looking up to him. When they see him doing these actions, he said this in that letter. He then says other things. Then he goes to Africa. Then he comes back, sets up a Sunni masjid. Because he has that position, he now has legitimatized this ideology. Now, if I had said he's the leader of Sunniism, would you have a problem with that, or is it Sunni Kunism? Which is it? Or is it both?
I'd have less of an issue with just Sunniism, but even then, I'd question it to some degree. Yeah.
If I said black Sunniism, or black diaspora Sunniism.
Yeah, I think, as I said in the debate, yeah, I'm not denying the fact that based upon Malcolm X, there are many people, but I'm gonna go as far as to say, Isa, yeah, that there are people that are Shias today, yeah, because they have some kind of inspiration from Omar and Malcolm X. Yeah, all of the inspiration as far as Malcolm X in Islam doesn't necessarily lead to Sunniism. And I give you an example. Did you? What
with that? That's not addressing the point, but go on.
That's the point, bro. We're talking about Islam, innit? And leading people to Islam. Yeah, so I'm saying that there's all kinds of Muslims that are inspired by Malcolm X. Yeah, all manner of Muslims. Yeah. Are you aware? Yeah, of the first place where an actual official stamp dedicated to Malcolm X was made?
Official stamp, like what do you mean?
Like, you know, I think over here, if there's an occasion or an event, they do a stamp. Let's say for if it's the Queen's Jubilee, there's a stamp for it, or they got a stamp for Winston Churchill, or you know what I'm saying, or whatever.
I don't know if you said stamp or stand. What is it in Iran or something? That was it. Is that what you're gonna say?
Iran is the first nation on earth, yeah, to create an official stamp, yeah, dedicated to Malcolm X, yeah, because there are people in Iran that are inspired by Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? And so, like all kinds of Muslims, yeah, are inspired by Malcolm X, yeah. So it's not him just leading people to Sunniism. It would be true to say that he has led a lot of people or inspired a lot of people to investigate, and some have converted to Islam. And the dominant expression of Islam in our present day context is what you call Sunniism. Yeah. So most people, by default, inspired by Umar Malcolm X or not, if they're looking up Islam, 8 times out of 10, the first thing they're going to come across is something Sunni related. You know what I'm saying? That's just a reality. But at the same time, when it comes to Sunni or Shia, yeah, or any other sect of Islam, one of the first things that you're gonna come across is the Quran, yeah, and whatever the pillars are. You know what I'm saying? And these kinds of things. There's gonna be a lot of unity on some of the basic tenets, yeah, of what Islam is and the principles or the paraphernalia, yeah, associated with Islam. Yeah, we might have a debate around hadith, but unless you're a Quranist, generally speaking, we're trying to agree that Quran and hadith are essential, right? You know what I'm saying? Then you're going to debate, well, which hadith? You know what I'm saying? That's that. You get me?
But hold on. This is the thing. Let me. What I was saying was, this is why I put these specific words in the title. Modern day. So what my point was, you seem to be talking about now. When Malcolm started, you didn't have the internet. So when all these brothers started converting first, it was to Sunniism. When the movie Malcolm X came out, then it was again to Sunniism. I'm not denying myself was inspired by Malcolm X, and look where I came. Do you get what I'm saying? Because of the principles. And in my head, it's always been that if he had lived longer, he would have came to true Islam. But what my point was, is that because he is a proponent for pro-blackness and he died in the school of Sunniism, that's my point of the Kunism. Meaning unknown to him, he was highlighting by just being a minister, by setting up the temple, the mosque of Sunniism, by setting that up for people looking at him as a great leader and pro-blackness through the same eyes. It's now legitimatized Sunniism as this religion for blacks. That's my point. He didn't study enough.
But first of all,
sorry, Shaka, give me 1 sec. Couple new people on the panel. Respect, thanks for coming on. Yeah, feel free to interject as you feel like. Be respectful.
Hey, may I?
One sec. I'll just introduce you just to let you know that just to let the people know that there's other people on the panel. But Shaka, I was about to say something. But yeah, could say something after still.
There's two things I need to say here. The first one is that Malcolm X, yeah, did not live another year after he came back from Hajj, yeah, and we can see between that time that the evolution of his ideas, yeah, was constantly in progress. It was a dynamic process, all right, and what he was dealing with. Okay, that's the first thing. So we have to put his development in that context. Yeah, we're talking about a man who went somewhere, and this was not the first time he was exposed to what they call Orthodox Islam. Yeah, but obviously he was on a train at that point and moving in a particular direction, and effectively was cut short before the fullness of what he was trying to manifest would have manifested. But the term Sunni Kunism, if we look at Kunism, we are defining something that deters black people from acting in the interest of black people. Yes. And whereas I am not an adherent to any Abrahamic religion at all, the barometer I would use, yeah, to refer to anybody in an Abrahamic religion as forwarding or promoting Kunism in relation to their religion is the extent to which they moved against the collective interests of black people. Let us say that Malcolm X was misguided about Sunniism. What he or Islam of any description, or the Abrahamic religions of any description. Let's say that he was not well informed enough. Yeah. Let us say that definitely when some of his assessments in terms of Saudi Arabia and other parts of the Muslim world, now today being blessed with the benefit of further more information, we would not make those assessments today. What was the basis for his assessments is the question. And was he seeking to develop and inspire a sensibility, whatever his religion, and even within the context of his religion, a sensibility among African people to empower ourselves? Or was he, for example, teaching that there is no race or color in Islam, and therefore we don't need to deal with the race issue? Africans don't need to organize amongst themselves anymore, because now we have Islam as a beautiful religion, which is what a lot of people say. which is what a lot of people who are indoctrinated into Islam and given the image of Malcolm X actually do say. This is the propaganda put out there by Sunni Muslims. And I am saying that I don't hold Malcolm X responsible for how people have mischaracterized him. Yes, I hold those people responsible. And in some ways, I hold us responsible for falling prey, for not doing enough to institutionalize the teachings of our great leaders enough so that our people are not so easily led astray by outside forces who seek to co-opt their legacy. This doesn't just apply to Omar Malcolm X, it applies to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, it applies to Patrice Lumumba, it applies to Kwame Ture, it applies to Kwame Nkrumah, it applies to Namzama Madikizela, Winnie Mandela as a most recent example. Black people around the world condemned her, yeah, and you could find justification if you look hard enough for their condemnation via things that she may have said at this point or that point, yeah? But does that represent her entire legacy? If you put those things into context, is this a true representation of who she is? No, it's not. So I can't say that, what's it called? Hold Winnie Mandela responsible for these things. I charge the people that are responsible for promoting the propaganda as responsible for distorting the legacy of Winnie Mandela. So I am saying that the Arab axis, as led by Saudi Arabia and others, the Trotskyist axis or the socialist Marxist axis as led by George Bratman and others, have deliberately distorted the life and legacy of Omwali Malcolm X, and I hold them responsible for it. Malcolm X did not lead anybody anywhere other than towards a definitive black agenda towards African liberation, and he may have seen Islam as a part of that. I may disagree with him, but I would never characterize him seeing Islam as a part of that as him promoting Coonism in any form in relation to religion.
Okay, look, the problem we got there, number one, is that we would need to discuss, as the brother said and as I desired, that Sunniism is, in any black person who adheres to Sunniism is a Coon by the very nature of being a Sunni. That's the point. So I'm saying specifically this day and time, because you get some people who are just Sunnis and it's just like a label. But I'm talking practitioners who might go to the mosque. But the problem that what I think, if you check it, Shaka, you're in denial, because when Malcolm X came back and he was interviewed, he continuously kept saying, I myself am a Muslim. Then he says, an Orthodox Muslim, and he's joined the bigger world of Muslims, right? That's number one. Number two, he said it's personal, right? But then he opens a masjid and he is the minister of that masjid. What do you think he's doing in there? Just standing in the corner. So once he's teaching in the masjid as a leader of people who have seen him for so long, for black people, and maintaining this position, that by itself is a leader for the people. I understand you keep saying and referring to his personal agenda, what he wanted to achieve. I'm talking about the very fact that him naturally being a leader for people following him, because he went to this particular thing and he stood on that thing, he therefore is naturally a leader towards Sunniism, right? Or black people towards Sunniism. And by the very nature of that, those who follow him in it, is specifically since the year 2000 and the internet, they are generally Coons, as is manifested. So, but yeah, I mean, we need to debate the other issue first. Can I just mention to, I think it's Amani Hijra. Yes, I totally agree. Let me get these things out here, because people keep telling me about Shia this and Shia that. I'm thoroughly aware that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had what we call slaves. I'm thoroughly aware that Imam Hassan, Hussein, Imam Ali, and so on had what we call slaves. Number one, they wouldn't be exclusively black. Number two, if you read the stories about how they were treated, the Hazrat Fatima and Imams, they done their own stuff. They done the things what slaves would normally supposed to do. They done themselves, right? This was how it worked. So when you hear about these people, they were taught the Quran. Some of a so-called slave of, I think, Hazrat Fatima, she was a memorizer of the Quran, right? There was one of them who used to only speak Quran. When they responded to somebody, they just used Quranic verses to respond. So this is the type, we're not talking about the same, when you're talking about Sunni 1,200 years of anti-black slavery, it's continuous and it's oppressive and it's brutal. We're not talking about, well, you know, the thing what you have in Islam, the Islam of the Quran. It's two different religions. And big up to my brother, Dagger Squad. Bloody, we name again? Oh, flip. But anyway, I forgot his name. Yo, Leon, what's Dagger Squad name again? Garfield. Garfield, my brother. Long time. Yeah. You know what, Garfield? If you can, my brother, link up one of your brothers on that side. Forget the licks. Because, I mean, I went easy on Shakara. And if you have a Sunni, this will be good. If you got a pro-black Sunni that could defend this, then you're going to see the real big guns come out for this, bro. You're going to see some real...
Sorry, can I say at this point, yeah? Man, this easy on Shakara business, isn't it? Like, I'm not into that, yeah? Like, man's about this life, innit? So, man don't need to feel like they need to go easy on man. I'm born and raised in the craft, innit? So, man's ready to defend anything anywhere, and I'll take my licks as it goes, innit? So, yeah, you get me. Get that clear.
Bro, this is the thing. When you said you thought that Sufis are not Sunnis, yeah, then I'm saying in relation to, this is why I originally said to have the two other brothers who are Sunnis along with you, because at the moment it stands that you wouldn't be competent enough to speak on the full subject because it's interconnected. You can say whatever it is, because I noticed the word coon in your mind is like, well, you can't associate the word coon with Malcolm X. So therefore that's your main thing. So you're scrambling around the information because of that. But I mean, to deny that a leader who's already there comes back. Let's change what it is, right? Let's forget it's Sunniism. Let's say a brother who's big to the black people, he goes to the Amazon jungle or something, right? He DMT or ayahuasca. He has some vision and he start to see hallucination and the future, and he come back and then he sets up a temple where he's saying, boom, let's come and bun this thing. Let's drink this ayahuasca, whatever it is, maybe even hashish mixed into it, weed, whatever. And then he starts doing it. Then people that follow him into that, because they saw him before as a black leader for them, once they start doing the same thing he's doing, he become their leader, regardless of whether he intended for everyone else to do it. The fact that he's somewhere and he's the minister, he's naturally.
Who led Malcolm?
Do you understand?
Who led Malcolm? You know that question?
Good point.
Hello?
You made a good point, Isa.
Who led Malcolm X into Orthodox Islam?
Who led him? He led himself.
No, it was Nation of Islam.
You're incorrect.
You got it all wrong, bro. Like,
you're incorrect, yeah. And this is the point I'm trying to make. We cannot substantiate, right? So I don't need to be an expert on Islam to be an expert on Wali Malcolm X. That's the first thing, yeah. We're discussing Wali Malcolm X, and I am saying that the true his true legacy, yes, is what is in question here. That's what I'm addressing. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether or not I believe that Sufis are Shia or not, yeah. And even by your own admission, there are Sufis who lean more to Shiaism. That's my understanding, yeah. Because I'm not completely green on the issue, right? But bro, yeah. The point is that the whole context of Malcolm X, and not even just Malcolm X, but the relationship of African people to Islam has to be put into consideration. I am not a Christian. Yeah, I put all the Abrahamic religions under the same umbrella as far as their relationship to African people. But I would never refer to Martin Luther King as a coon or the leader of any form of coonism. Yeah, in fact, Martin Luther King, as a Christian, actually challenged a whole heap of coonism that was going on in the black church. You know what I'm saying? And he's an example of challenging black coolist sensibilities within the black church. I don't think he's necessarily an expression of Christianity. I believe there are more radical expressions of Christianity even than his, but I would never associate what he represented and what he was leading black people towards as coonism. So I'm not going to do the same for Malcolm X, because I personally have issues with the religion that he proclaimed, especially if I can
Shaka, I don't think Issa's saying that it's Sunni coonism because he don't like Sunnis. I'm thinking he's saying coonism because he genuinely believes that it's like I said, detrimental to black people, fam.
I believe that Christianity is detrimental to black people.
Okay, we ain't gonna call it coonism. That's cool, yeah. The word coonism, cause to me that implies that like man knows what they're doing, innit? Like they're deliberately trying to
traitor. It means traitor.
Yeah, yes, a betrayal of your own self, like a sellout thing.
Yeah,
Leon.
Well,
do you agree?
Redeemed.
One sec, brother. One sec. Leon, do you agree? Yeah, that a lot of us, when we came towards the Black Power thing, Christianity was easily labeled as the slave religion. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Easily because it was
associated with the good ship Jesus and all these things.
Ask that question again.
it was. I said, do we agree that most of us that come out of Christianity, when we're raised from Christianity, either in the Caribbean, Black America, or British Black people, right? When we were leaving Christianity, it was seen to be the slave religion because of how we got that religion was directly through slavery.
Yeah, definitely.
When it
You can't end there though, bro. There's two things that you have to factor into that, yeah? The first one is that most of us didn't leave the Christian religion. The majority of Africans, yeah, in many African nations today, yeah, and Caribbean nations, and Africans in places like America and the UK, yeah, are Christians if we are religious. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There are, you know how much churches there are in Jamaica, for example, all right, and these kinds of things. The numbers are staggering. So I'm saying, yes, many of us who left, but partly because it was we considered it to be a slaver's religion. However, it would also be true to say that many of those who left Islam or did not adopt Islam because they also considered it to be a slave religion.
Hold on. See, this what I notice you do. When I specify something, you always go everywhere else. What I'm saying to you is,
context is
no, but no, bro, it's not context. You telling me about those people that stayed in and Jamaica having loads. That does not. My specific point was those of us who left. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying those who left, we saw that as a slave religion because we generally could see that most of those Black Christians that adhere to Christianity would always favor anti-Blackism and justify what they're doing to us and have excuses and have, disrespect towards any Black movements and try and what are you doing and what have you achieved and all that kind of thing and bun, dirty head rasta, everything that's to do with pro-Blackness, they'll be talking against us. It would generally be their way. What I'm saying to you is we could easily link us getting Christianity with whips and slavery. What I'm saying to you is when we saw Malcolm X on this thing, leaving the same Christian religion, joining Nation of Islam, becoming a leader for Black people and spokesperson, then converting to Sunniism. I'm saying that by nature is him validating the ideology and it's being called the Black man's original religion, his natural religion. Yes, Islam maybe, but not Sunniism. But the whole thing is this. We need to discuss Sunniism because we're going to go round in circles for 10 years or whatever. Once we get over what the hell is Sunniism, then we can refer back to this again.
I'm going to say, bro, I'm going to let somebody else come in. I'm going to say for the purpose of this conversation, yeah, what is Sunniism can be an important conversation, yes, but the real question is, what did Malcolm X believe? So he may have had a false idea of what Sunniism is. You know what I'm saying? That's completely plausible. Yeah. But in terms of what he believed and what he was teaching, yeah, that is what is imperative to this particular conversation. Yeah, in terms of his relationship with Islam.
Well, do you agree he was a minister? Do you agree he set up a mosque and he was the minister of that mosque? Yes or no?
No.
People that of religions tend to institutionalize their religion. So for the people that he was around that were Muslims, they established, and he wasn't the first to do this, they were linking with our brothers and sisters who were already Muslims in the United States of America. Yeah, but yes, he set up a mosque for those brothers and sisters who are around him so that they can practice their religion.
Yeah.
No, did I say he's a minister? This is what I asked you. Was he the minister? Yes or no?
No.
The minister, no, of the Muslim mosque. Yeah, well, he was a minister for a particular point in time, and then he actually handed over a lot of the duties of ministering to other brothers and sisters, partly because he was with developing the organization of the community. Which, as far as I'm concerned, if we're talking about Omwali Malcolm X, and we are, especially in terms of his legacy and the last year of his life, and we are not talking about the organization of Afro-American unity, then we are not having a proper conversation about Omwali Malcolm X.
Facts.
Hey, you know what? This is where I think, because you keep saying Omwali Malcolm X, and you're focusing on one side of it, I think that conversation needs to be had in regards to that, because it come like you're trying to say his agenda was more the Pan-African and the religion was just his personal thing. You get me? It's like that several. That's fine. Well, that's what I'm saying. We can have that. I think we should have that conversation, or Shaka can give his conversation on this
No, bro.
because
When you say personal,
Like, bro, you gotta break it down. Like, I'm sorry, I think you got it wrong. I'm sorry to cut you off.
well, you can say that, but when he's on TV telling the world, I am a Muslim, I no longer say these things of Elijah Muhammad and so on, and he set up a mosque and he's the minister. He didn't say he set up a temple. He didn't set up a voodoo temple. He didn't set up
What you're describing is how the Nation of Islam is, bro. You're describing the Nation of Islam.
straight.
Okay, you have Eric. No, listen. You got Eric Muhammad. You got Dr. Khalid Muhammad. You got See, the only branch everyone focuses on is Minister Farrakhan because his branch is the biggest. The Nation of Islam is like a tree, but it's like a tree. It's like a tree that comes out, and each branch has a different fruit on it. Yeah, go ahead.
Elijah Muhammad. He met him himself, so we don't need to reference anyone else. He met Elijah Muhammad himself, so there's no point Eric Muhammad and Farrakhan. You don't need to mention none of them.
That's my point, bro. That's my point. You're talking about one branch. The 25th mosque that Malcolm X set up was an FOI mosque.
Not his mosque. No, not that. I'm talking about when he left and came back from Mecca.
He set up an FOI mosque, bro. Do you know what an FOI mosque is?
I don't know about fruits of Islam. That's not what we're talking about, bro. The Muslim mosque includes.
That's what the mosque is. You don't see the thing is, I think you look at it from a Sunni Shiite. You're not looking at it from how Islam is practiced in America. Sunni Shiite.
Brother, I want you to listen carefully, please. When he came back,
I have like 6 generations. 6 generations of people that have been involved in these movements since 1865. So I'm just letting you know, you've just been defacing. When you use the term coon, bro, that is like calling someone the devil itself, bro. Just letting you know.
Bro, you seem to not even understand even that. But stick to your point about what he set up. You're saying the Muslim mosque included. Are you saying that wasn't a Sunni mosque? Yes or no?
No, they didn't. Okay. The Nation of Islam has always been reforming towards Black America. The only part of Islam they care about. Okay, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Listen, when he came back, he denounced the Nation of Islam. So you keep referring to Nation.
Elijah Muhammad, bro. He denounced Elijah Muhammad.
Let me correct you. He said, I'm out the movement. Yeah, I speak my own thought. I used to say, Elijah Muhammad teaches and says thus and so. So please, I don't even know. You're in the country. Apparently, you got family and generations, but you don't seem to know the most basic thing that's recorded.
How do I not know the most basic? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let's not turn it to that. Go ahead.
Simple. I'm asking a simple question. When he came back, he done the Hajj, wrote his letter and he went to Africa, he came back. When he told people on TV
that he's Muslim,
that he, the minister of a mosque, Muslim mosque inclusive.
Yes.
Was this a Nation of Islam mosque or a Sunni mosque? Which one?
Okay.
Which one?
Yeah, he was setting up a mosque. Yeah, he was setting up a mosque, as he said, that practiced the religion of Islam as it's practiced in the East.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that, bro.
This is the thing though about.
You're saying there's no doubt, but this guy's here talking about how many generations, and he's trying to say.
No, I'm trying to tell you that when you try to put someone with excuse me. When you try to put Malcolm X with being a coon, you have to first break down how he learned Islam, and even when he got back, you have to talk about how he talked.
Hold on, stop, brother. I never said. In fact, in the debate, obviously, you watched the debate. One of the things I
literally watch COE every week, bro. I'm not lying. Okay.
Well, let me show for whatever reason you
like. To be real, Issa, this is the first time I've ever been upset with you. Any other time, brother, I ride with you. I ride with you any other time. I'm letting you know that, bro. Like this is the only time you've ever pissed me off. Any other time, you my brother. I'm letting you know. After this, you'll be my brother. But right now, I'm letting you know.
Well, listen what I'm saying, brother. I specifically said for the camera and everyone listening, I do not consider Malcolm X to be a coon. I consider him to be totally and utterly sincere in his journey, right? This was my specified thing. What my point was, is because people looking at Malcolm X and following him, them people that came after following this tradition, because I don't believe he had enough time to even go into it for him to say, you know what, this thing's a pile of garbage. Do you understand? So because of that, I'm saying people, because he's legitimatized Saudi Arabian version of Sunnism.
The Asiatic black man. I got you on that. Yeah, you got that.
What I'm saying is, never mind what he says. This is the bit where Shaka seems to get it wrong. I'm saying it doesn't matter what Malcolm's intentions were, as long as you're already a leader, you legitimize something and you establish a mosque, right, which facilitates other people practicing the ideology.
Mm-hmm.
You are the master of it. Then you're teaching the ideology to those people. They go back home and implement it in their flipping house. They then raise other children based upon them coming to Malcolm X's masjid. You've now disseminated that information. Do you understand? And they're now Sunnis. Do you understand my point?
Isa, what
Yes, yes.
Before we get to I want to go to the OAU for a sec here, the OAAU, right? But before we get to there, what was Malcolm X teaching in the Muslim Mosque Incorporated?
He was mainly doing his, because the reason why I say this conversation is kind of off a bit is because you have to look at who his original teacher was and the people he was teaching to. Elijah Muhammad, since the 1930s, had been talking about how the white man's the devil and the black man is God. Okay, that teaching
Islam is the black man's
only
religion.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say about Malcolm X. Malcolm X, whenever he used it, like he said, it was personal. When he set up the 25th Mosque in New York, that was based off the reuniting of his group of friends from the FOI. The FOI is like the military of the NOI. So a lot of the guys usually break off and create their own branches to meet their immediate family need. The organization that Shaka's talking about is the true legacy. The Nation of Islam and him going to Mecca, but then he talked about his mistreatment of Mecca. Then you have to look at all his speeches in Africa. Whenever he was talking, he was in a majority black Muslim country. So his viewpoint of pro-blackness was shaped by those speeches, was shaped by those colleges. He did not, even when he came back to America, he wasn't calling us Asiatic. You know where the Asiatic black man thing came from? Elijah Muhammad. That's why if we look at Minister Farrakhan today, Minister Farrakhan is teaching that Saudi, because like everyone called him out on this in the 90s when in Sudan, Arabs were selling like Sudanese people, the indigenous Sudanese. He didn't say a damn thing about it. And we called him out on that. So because of that, you had several other
Farrakhan never said nothing.
He always capes for them, bro. Like there's a video of him and Gaddafi, like Gaddafi embracing him. And there's like, he brags about speaking in, I think it was Iran or Iraq, one of the two. And he was speaking in front of like 1,000 Muslims or something like that. And he takes pride in that. When you look at Farrakhan's branch, everything Issa is saying is 100% true. If you look at just Farrakhan's branch, just his branch, you will see a little bit of more like we are the Asiatic, more bending towards Saudi Arabia.
I remember one time I heard him dissing African features as well, still, and Rasta saying that
the curly hair curse and Yaqub and all that stuff, that's his branch. But when you talk about Malcolm X, you're going to get a whole nother ideology, because Malcolm X also used to work with drug dealers in this community. He also used to work with like security people in the community. And his goal was, I mean, the very things he learned, I forget the guy, I think his name was in Kenya, but there was a gentleman in Kenya that inspired him. You know, he Sunniism, I get what Esau is saying. I'm telling you, I want to make this clear. This is the only time like I have ever been mad at Esau. So I want to know that the black intellect, I'm going to love him after this again, because low key, I wanted to hop on the plane, take off his mask, and we was gonna have a fight. Because I was like, bro, no, not Malcolm X. Okay, not Malcolm X, bro. I was about to go ADOS, bro. Like I was about to join ADOS. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how good? I'm like, if Shaka don't knock this dude out, I'm about to go over there. Gracious, y'all let the Arabs talk. God, I was so mad, bro. I'm like, this is an hour of this? Come on, Leon, cut this off, yo. Look at this. Like, yo.
All views and opinions welcome on COEB. All views
and
opinions
they losing
welcome.
it, bro. Gracious. But no, that was the whole point. When the anti-blackness and Sunnism would have never existed anywhere near Malcolm X's mindset. That's right. Why, if you wanted to know this, to be real with you, no one in the world could have killed Malcolm X but another black person. When he got shot, Elijah Muhammad flattened the Nation of Islam looking for this guy. That's why after his death, they broke up, because it just did not. Everyone says that his death immortalized him. That was the greatest regret, was sending him away. Then the second time that happened, because you can say the same thing happened with, because if you look at Leo Muhammad is the perfect example. Leo Muhammad follows the teachings of Minister Farrakhan. He does, but you don't ever see Leo Muhammad talking about we are the Asiatic black. No, he talks about how racist Saudis are and how the Arabs, how illegitimate, the Arabs are and how they bring down Islam and things like that. He will say that their teacher is the devil. You know what I mean?
Why?
Huh?
Why does he not say that we are the Asiatic black man?
Because the Nation of Islam is about freeing the minds of black men. So not all black men think alike. You understand? Like you're not gonna get like everybody on this panel don't think alike. I'm pretty sure if we all said, if I said, any black man who's not with a black woman isn't about being pro-black, you're gonna meet some brothers gonna be like, no, that's not true, that's not true. You know what I mean? You're gonna have that kind of conversation. But that was how the Nation of Islam, as long as they maintained we are uplifting, we are bettering black men, that's all that matters. Because if you want to be deep into the history of the Nation of Islam, you're going to see certain sects of them that used to have children for child labor, child molestation, and all that. And then the other nations came together and smashed them. I'm just being real. So, I just want to say peace and black power to Issa, I forgive you. And if anything, I feel like your Shia savage beast disease has been cured. God is good. Praise to be to Allah. Takfir.
Don't let me start on there, boy.
Stuff right now. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that, bro, I'm a man, yeah. I don't take one thing about an individual and make that their legacy. That's all it is.
Yes.
I'm going all about the place. It ain't got nothing to do with that. I have not denied that Omwali Malcolm X made some statements regarding Mecca. I am not even denying that those statements are inaccurate as regards to what was actually taking place in Saudi Arabia during that time. But when I'm looking at the man's legacy, I have to look at more than just a few statements in a book, a few statements in an interview. Yeah, there's so many things that he said that tell us what he was doing. There were so many things that he was doing that show us his direction. And regardless of what misconceptions were of Islam or Saudi Arabia, his program, remained the same. And there's so much in his program. So and also if I am aware that there is a deliberate attempt coming from the Muslim community to wipe that program away, to paint him as this Muslim Islamic kind of proselytizer, following Mecca. He was racist before he went to Mecca, then he came back and he denounced racism. And what if I told you that the Muslim Mosque Incorporated was an exclusively black organization?
Exactly.
Right? It was exclusively black. Yeah? Because Malcolm X said, whites can help, but they can't join.
Yes.
Right? That's what he said. Yeah? So even within his implementation or institutionalization of the practice of Islam among his brothers and sisters, he was focused with it.
Wow.
Right. This is the problem. You like to mention things like what he said in a book and what he said in Mecca. But like I said, he didn't come back and set up an Ifa temple, voodoo temple, Kamisha temple.
So, because you couldn't get rid of that part. Like, are you going to abandon Islam?
He set up
You're not going to abandon Islam.
Afro-American unity.
No. What my hold on. What I'm saying is the only thing I said, and I noticed you say things like legacy, and you keep saying all of this other stuff as though you're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm talking about the leadership from the perspective of the followers. You're talking about leadership from the perspective of the agenda of Malcolm X. And I'm saying
from that, he only preached black. You and him would have agreed on everything, bro.
That's fine.
This world would have been about you, bro. That's it,
bro. I'm not saying Malcolm X consciously studied Sunnism, found it to be this anti-black religion, and said, you know what? I'm going to build a temple to this, mosque to this thing, and I'm going to keep rolling with it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he hardly knew anything about it. In other words, for instance, let's say he went to Iran for whatever reason, and then he came, instead of Nation of Islam, he converted to Orthodox Shia Iranian version of Shiism, right? And he came back with that. I'm saying, although that to me would not be proper Islam, from there at the least, it could be something where we wouldn't be coons, because what it does to you if you follow true Islam, You're supposed to study for yourself. That's part of the actual religion. In Sunniism, it is specific that you must, when you read the Quran, if you read a verse, you have to, you're not allowed to interpret yourself. They literally tell you this. You're not allowed to study this thing and come to a conclusion yourself. That is what Sunni religion teaches. So
But can
it's
Shiites do the opposite? I'm sorry. Do Shiites do the opposite of that? Like they will investigate it themselves?
This is what what it is that the imams and the scholars are guides for you. You do have like the government legislation, yeah, which is obviously unique to go along, discuss what's the best laws for the society. But when it comes to the actual verses and so on, they are guides for you, right? So the thing with Sunniism is just there's a whole heap of problems with it. And the reason I don't want to talk too much on it is because I want a competent Sunni on the other side to represent that thing. If I say it before they come on a debate, it's going to happen like all these lot running already. There's people running and they won't debate on the most simplest of things. Never mind going into this.
And that's what I'm trying to tell you. In America, you're not going to find that. Black people in America don't have time for that. Like, we don't have time to be like, oh, I ain't going to bang with you because you're Sunni. Like, for example, you guys have to ask, I see multiple times on COE, you guys have to explain to Somalis what it means to be black. We don't have to explain that to them. We literally just like, day one, they like,
yes, that's very important.
My friend told me 2 weeks ago, he was Somali dude he's from Somaliland guy. He was telling me, like, yo, I'm not black like you and stuff like that. His gas station got hustled up by some cops and they kind of like, they tried to arrest him for some stuff. And I'm like, bro, I don't know why they did that to you. They said they put me in there talking about put him in there with the blacks, put him in there with the blacks. I'm like, bro, you know what I mean? And I think what you're doing is because you're in the UK and because you're getting people fresh out of the sand, because you're getting Arabs fresh out of the sand up there and they come with all that, gusto and, we're hairy and, we love Islam and shit like that. I think the problem is that your vision of Sunniism and Shiite and stuff like that practice amongst your people is based off the people you live with. In America, you know why the Nation of Islam is very powerful? Because they can walk into a church and preach amongst pastors, talk about how revolutionary Jesus is, and then walk out.
Are you Nation of Islam?
No, and my brother is.
Leon, Orthodox Moors backstage, yeah.
Oh lad. Yeah, let me just respond to Amani Hidra. She says she'll do the same, rely on scholars. Yes, this is why I mentioned. About Iranian, because I'm saying how it's been set up after they came out of the rulership of Sunniism. Because remember, Iran has only been a Shia nation for like 500 years, but they've always had Sunnis trying to attack them and take them down, and they've gone along with a lot of the Sunni cultural aspects because that's what the people were used to. So I'm saying there's a lot of things. And when people keep asking me what do the Shias do, what have they done? You have to remember they've been controlled by Sunnis for 1,400 years.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
That's the thing because the reality is, yeah, like anything in that concept that you say regarding the Shia, man has to take your word for it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nowhere institutionally that we can test it and draw,
Yes, you can very easily. This is the problem. This is my whole point. Is that if a Sunni's on the opposite side of me, I can go into his texts and his fatwas and so on of the foundation of his religion. That's the difference. And when I go into foundation of mine, there are two separate religions guiding you in two separate ways. So it's very easy to do that, my brother.
That's fine, yeah. And when that happens, I'm going to listen very attentively. Yeah? Trust me, I will. Right?
Can I ask something, Issa? As far as I understand to you, Islam Islam was being used by Malcolm X as a counter-racist religion. Yes?
I'm saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that his quotations, when people heard them, they then thought this is a good religion for us. The most basic understanding, because Malcolm X is converted, because he's wrote back and said all these things. That's the first point. Yeah. The second point is him coming back after going through Africa, after Mecca, and setting up an Orthodox Sunni masjid and becoming the minister of that Sunni masjid. I'm saying just the actual. Okay.
Yes,
But I'm not
I got
saying
that.
that.
I understand that clear. So, but as far as I understand, it seems like what you're saying is that by setting up a mosque, that should help the people classified as black overcome the oppression they're suffering under racism. Yet at the same time, on the other side, on the other hand, you're saying that Malcolm X was trying to set up a mosque, or sorry, set up an organization that was exclusively for blacks. So there seems to be a conflict of interest here. How can you be Muslim, a true Muslim, and try and help black people, which is a racial classification? You know, I don't understand. There seems to be a conflict of how can you be black and Muslim at the same time?
You mean Sunni? You mean black and Sunni?
Oh my God.
No, but
So is that what you?
blackness. No, blackness itself
Yeah.
is a product of the faith or religion of white supremacy. It's a
Okay.
self-division. So
I hear that.
So the clash there's a religious clash going on here. I just need that clarified, please.
Well, in relation to what you're saying means, but if you check how Elijah Muhammad had redefined that term, then we're coming from the perspective as redefined by Elijah Muhammad. Do you understand? So it's not. It's the same word. It's kind of somebody in the Pan-African movement calling themselves an African. When, let's say, the Europeans called the place Africa, they had a certain viewpoint. When they call those people on it Africans, they had a totally different view than Pan-Africans see themselves as Africans. Likewise, they may come with the term black to us. When we have that, we have something very, very different.
Okay, so but Pan-Africanism itself is still in conflict with Islam.
No, not at all.
Are you sure? Think about
Bro,
that.
wait, yeah, Black Power or perish, bro. That's like I'm saying. You got, and I realize I'm only defending Malcolm X here, but I feel like this could be a good chance for us to, the UK, US link up, because I feel like we can kind of explain each other's culture. Islam is a weapon, and any weapon to the Black American can be utilized. A lot of, like, for example, the AME Zion Church is known as the African Methodist Episcopal Church, because we realized we could not work with white people and white Christians. We can only work with Black ones. So we created our own industries, our own churches off that. Most of the, I don't know if you guys ever heard of a place, I mean, obviously everyone knows where Harlem is, Brooklyn. These areas were owned by Black churches.
That's what you're saying there, my brother, yeah? The founder of the
these are weapons, bro. Like I'm sorry, Shaka, go ahead.
Is known for saying to throw away the what's it called, the white image of God, throw away the white Jesus. He's known for saying that God is a Negro, for example. Yeah, these kinds of things. So I'm saying that even if I critique Christianity in its totality, in terms of its relationship to African people, I can also appreciate what this brother was trying to achieve.
I can give you an example of how we
what he was trying to achieve.
I can do that.
But it worked though, bro.
To him to as Croonism, because I believe that ultimately Christianity is destructive to the African sense of self. I'm not going to do
that's the point. Ultimately. So if you're going to set up a mosque, or you're going to create a Christian faith, or whatever organization you're putting together, what is the ultimate goal? What is the ultimate?
That's the thing. In America, it's just for survival. It was just literally for us trying to, like, okay, for example, before there was the Black Panthers, there was the Deacons of Defense. The Deacons of Defense were pastors, members of the churches that used to guard the neighborhoods versus the Klan. And then when Black veterans came home through World War I, it was like Black pastors started to integrate more Black men into the community, buying jobs and stuff like that. But then if you want to go earlier during like the Dutch, early, like when we were still in when like I can say for my family's genealogy, when I was still what's now known as Jamaica right now, and you had churches that were being formed, and you hear people writing back to higher members. I think I forget the name of the individual where they kept saying that African slaves were only converting to be free. So like I think now is like I think now it's just been adapted. But in America, the institution, because it's hard, a lot of black people can't. We can Pan Africanists in America have a hard problem because we try to set up an infrastructure where like you can go Ifa, you can go voodoo,
Right.
but what are the rules?
Yeah,
What are the penance?
Right.
What are the things behind it?
Right.
And I think that's the hard part in setting up. So it's easier to maneuver with, like, for example, the Noble Jew Ali and the Moors movement. The reason why that was powerful was because when you look at the history of the Moors and you look at the history of like black men in regards to Islam, because that's what all the Moors are in America. They're mainly Muslims. And they will like, and they will blend in with a Sunni, they will blend in with a Shiite, and you will never know who's who, because some will have a long beard that's died, some
True.
may not.
But bro,
You know?
well, you see, Noble Drew Ali, a lot of them people at that time, like Detroit, Chicago, there was a move of a lot of Indians, to
Booker
America.
T. Washington too. Like you had like people that had to move. They had to utilize what was in front of them to make a system.
I'm just trying to assess the influences though, because we have to put things into context. A lot of those people were influenced by Ahmadiyya Islam, because they had relationships with some Muslims from India who were in America at that time. Then like prior to that, in the 1800s, a man by the name of Edward Wilmot Blyden travels to Africa, and he writes a book called Christianity, Islam, and the Negro Race. He's a Christian, and he, because of his relationship with Africans, in West Africa, and in relation to Islam, and these kinds of things, proposes that Islam is a more beneficial religion than Christianity for African people. This is a Christian student, So I'm saying that there's a context for all of these things that develop among our people. I'll read you something, specifically in relation to Malcolm X, because on Sunday, Issa, you don't know, that I bought about 10 books for you, innit? What's it called? But I'm holding in my hand 2 books at the moment. The first one is a book called Garvey Lumumba Malcolm, Black Nationalist Separatist, It's by a sister by the name of Shona Maglambayan, And this is like one of them classic Black nationalist books. It's not even in print no more. But a lot of what Issa broke down in the early part of his presentation with regards to Malcolm X and what he said and the condition of African people in the Arab world in general, that perspective is actually broken down in this book. So I'm very familiar with it. But the second book I'm holding in my hand is a book called Seventh Child. It's by a brother called Rodnell Collins, who is the nephew of Malcolm X. The nephew, the son of Malcolm X's oldest sister, Ella Collins. Who was a great influence on his life, and one of the people that was pushing him to move towards Orthodox Islam. But he says in the chapter called An Awakening, one of the and he now this is Malcolm X's nephew who had joined the Nation of Islam and was a member of Malcolm X's mosque, and left the nation with him and was in the OAU and the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. But now at this point he's talking about what Malcolm X was teaching at Mosque number 7 under the Nation of Islam. All right. So he's saying one of the most memorable things we learned from Malcolm was that a sizable number of Africans brought to enslavement in this country were Muslims. We had never heard such a thing before. Most of us thought that Islam came to our people with the Nation of Islam. But we were overwhelmed to learn that in 1790, the South Carolina legislature granted a special law for a community of enslaved Muslims. We learned that Omar bin Said's autobiographical narrative, written in 1831. One second, sorry. The American Historical Reviews, July 1925 issue, which is an incident just a couple months after Malcolm X was born, described him as a fuller tribesman from Senegal, whose narrative is the quote only complete autobiographical narrative written in America by a slave in his own native tongue. He was first brought to Charleston, South Carolina in 1807 and later fled to Fayetteville, North Carolina. Excerpts from his narrative quote Said as saying, they came to our place a large army, who killed many men and took me and brought me to the great sea and sold me into the hands of the Christians, who bound me and sent me on board a great ship. And we sailed upon the great sea a month and a half. When we came to a place called Charleston in the Christian language, Saeed described his first owner as a small, weak and wicked man called Johnson. I fled from the hands of Johnson to a place called Faid Hill, yeah, and that's actually faithful, yeah. I reside in this country by reason of great necessity. Wicked men took me by violence and sold me to Christians. What's the importance of that? The significance of that is that for various different reasons, yeah, people were coming to this this idea that Islam was an older religion that related to African people. Some said it was the black man's original religion. Elijah Muhammad certainly did teach that Islam is the black man's original religion.
He also said that when God was thinking of creating man, he was not thinking of the Arab. He was only thinking about the black man. Because
all these things. So you put all these things together, and people are saying, well, if Islam is the original black man's religion, why don't we worship it? Sorry, why don't we adhere to it in the way that our brothers and sisters do on the mother continent? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so they're looking now to Africa to learn about Islam, and then that leads them towards looking to Saudi Arabia. I'm gonna say that's a mistake, but I don't mean I can't understand what they were dealing with. They were looking for a black African religion. You know what I'm saying? That's what they were looking for. They weren't looking for a religion that transcends race or their black experience. They were looking for a religion that spoke to their black experience. So even if
that's right. Looking for a black African religion.
Right.
That's it. It has yet to be created. It has yet to be created.
I disagree with that. But however, even if I consider their conclusions incorrect, it doesn't mean that I can't put their intention and their motivation into proper context. And I'm saying that Malcolm X has to be seen in the context of that history and that motivation.
100%, because before he even got into the Nation of Islam, while he was in jail, he was talking about that same concept, calling us sleeping Moors and whatnot, who are taught to basically worship other people and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And for him, a Moor was just a black Muslim. You know what I'm saying? That's all it was. It wasn't a Sunni, a Shia, none of that. It's just a black Muslim. And he talked about it quite a bit.
Where's Isa going? Where's good?
Yeah, Brother Moore, I'll be over here all day.
Yeah. Which religion is a black religion?
Ooh, that's good. Oh, that's a good one.
Name one black religion.
Can you take like turned black? Because let's be real, like if black people didn't enter Abrahamic faiths, they'll still be boring. Because like we brought flavor, music, you know, flair. You haven't seen a black man in a church suit until you've seen a black man in a church suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll jump on that in a hot minute, but real quick, as a
black religion, name one black religion. There are black people in Christianity. There are black people in Islam. There are black people in Judaism. There's black people in all kinds of things. But at one specific black religion, I'm saying that it does not exist yet.
Okay, cool. That's an opinion.
Yeah.
Let me jump on the topic real quick before it changes topics.
Well, just a quick thing. Because Issa's phone died. So that's why he seems to disappear from the chat.
Right.
So I'm just letting everybody know that. You tried to put. All right. So one second. Yeah, go on for that one. I'm gonna try to get Issa on speakerphone.
Yeah, real quick. Like so, I know Issa's talking about Malcolm X being like the big impetus as to why Black Americans became Sunni and whatnot. And I want to push back on the narrative a little bit, because that in my study of it, that's not the case or whatnot. Like the major switch, yes, did he switch to being Sunni? 100%, right? Did he die Sunni? Yes, all day. But he wasn't pushing Sunni Islam when he came back to America, right? The big switch happened after Warren Death Muhammad took the Nation of Islam and made them Sunni. When Malcolm X went to Saudi Arabia and whatnot, he was offered all kind of money, millions of dollars, to push Salafi Islam on Black Americans. He said no, right?
Yeah.
He started.
Debate, bro. Watch the debate. Yeah, you're gonna see me say basically exactly what you're saying right there.
Yeah, I saw a part of it too, bro. I wasn't able to catch all of it. I got to see part of it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like so when he started the Muslim, he came back and started 2 organizations: a Muslim organization and then a Pan-African organization. The Muslim one, I hear Issa saying it's a Sunni one, right? But I'm saying you can't show me no evidence of him turning away a black Ahmadiyya Muslim, a black Shia Muslim, a Moorish American Muslim, none of that.
Good point. That's a point I didn't make. That's a point.
Because then they all fight together, bro. I don't want to romanticize Islam in America, but the way I've always seen it, I've never seen a beef. But like, because most of the mosques I've ever seen, like DC and New York, that are like black, they don't even have Arabs in them, bro. It's like just
I was gonna say it like
forms.
this, bro. Like we don't even get down like that in America. Like it's like
that's what I'm saying. Like we ain't got time for that bullshit, bro.
Yeah, bro. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like you a more, but I ain't gonna fake. I've learned your history. I'd rather have you fighting alongside me than against me. You know what I mean?
Right, because if we're on the street corner, right, and a cop pull up on both of us, right, he ain't
bro,
gonna, you're a Moor and you're a Sunni. You're like, nah, bro, we both catching the same hell, yeah.
Bro, it's because in the UK, bro, they got them Arabs fresh out the sand, bro. Like these
I'm with it. No, it's peak over there. I'm with that. No, I'm with that. But that's a real thing for them too, though, because like them cats be going over there pushing that Salafi stuff hard, or the Shia stuff hard, or etc. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, they can't handle that because in America, bro, they white kids have been like, yo, I'm gonna shoot up multiple of these places. You know what I mean? In the UK, it's more like we gotta talk about it, discuss it. You know what I mean?
The other side.
Hold on, but real quick, if I go to Detroit and I go to Philly right now, it's starting to turn into the whole UK thing right now, like because of the whole Salafi thing popping up. Because now, after Warren Death Muhammad changed the Nation of Islam to actually becoming Sunni whatnot, and after Farrakhan redid the Nation of Islam, you see that same Arab money that Malcolm X denied starting to come into America to influence black
Islam. Didn't he
Islam.
warn people of that though? Didn't he warn that the Nation of Islam was headed towards the leadership? Wanting like luxury things and things like that.
Yeah, come on, yeah, you know what it was.
He's obviously been a prophet, bro. I mean, not to say it like that. You know what I mean?
All right,
I'll say at least the Wali. How about that?
Yeah.
So, are you saying that also? I think you said it earlier on. Other Somalis and the East Africans saying that we're Somali but we're not black, or we're Muslim but we're not black.
I see for you guys. You guys are different.
I've never heard that.
I didn't catch that part of the conversation. What was that?
Yeah, I think it was Black Power or Perish was saying that the Somalis over there, they refuse to be identified as black, even though they suffer the same things as black people. No.
I was saying that we don't have that problem with the Somalis over here. You mean you have like I had one? I was telling my example of a guy that wanted to be referred to as a Somaliland Somali and not black. And then I was just simply explaining that in America, if we call you black, it just means you're just going to act, you're going to be treated like us.
Right.
That's it. That's all it means to be black, to be honest.
Sorry, brothers. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear Issa. I've got him on the line. Issa, you there?
Big up, family. Big up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear him just fine.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're in. Yeah, I want to add to what Orthodox Moore was saying still, because my whole contention, is that there has been a deliberate attempt, and we have to understand this, people, Like
one thing, bro, can you just, while you said that, can you break down what he said?
Oh right, sorry. In fact, more.
Long story short, what I was saying is that when you see when you see Malcolm come back from Mecca, he starts 2 organizations: the Muslim Mosque Incorporated, and then the Organization for African Unity, etc. Right? And so with the Muslim Mosque Incorporated, I hear what you're saying about it being so-called Sunni, whatnot. But there's no instance that you can show me historically where he turned away a black Ahmadi Muslim or a black Sufi Muslim or a black Shia Muslim or even a black Moorish American Muslim. You know what I'm saying? It was an Islamic concept. When he came back, he was talking about Islam in a very general concept to our people. I know he was personally Sunni, right? But he wasn't pushing being Sunni. When he was in Saudi Arabia, he rejected a lot of money from the Arabs because they wanted him to push Salafi Islam, right? He rejected that, right? For me, like in America, the big switch to Sunni Islam wasn't because of Malcolm X. It was when Warren Death Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, took the Nation of Islam and made them a Sunni organization. Because again, from that point on, you can see the same Arab money that Malcolm X rejected starting to come into our communities. You know what I'm saying? To the point where in a modern day, I can go to Detroit and I can go to Philly and I can see the Sunni the Salafi like Shia beef kind of popping up to where like the Salafi movement is hitting them streets hard to where like they're starting to do fear on everybody like it's the UK and whatnot. But that's not because of Malcolm X, right? That's a whole different side move. You know what I'm saying?
The other point, just to touch on that, because what I said in the debate was we have to factor in the relationship between the Saudi government and the American government because they were in cahoots. Yeah, the Saudi government expressed interest in coming to institutionalizing Salafism in schools and centers in America, specifically to target the so-called Black Muslim movement, and the American government allowed them to do it. Yeah, and so we've got these two forces that are now collaborating to create a narrative of Omar and Malcolm X that goes born in America, grows up to be a criminal, becomes a racist in Nation of Islam, leaves Nation of Islam, becomes an integration Muslim. And that's it. That's the narrative that they wanted to push. And so that narrative of Malcolm X, has dominated the scene. And if that narrative has dominated the scene as put out there by these outside agencies, then that's not the pronouncements. They're not following Malcolm X. They're following the revisionism of Malcolm X's life and legacy.
100%.
Right. Yes. Both of you. Right. So who is it? Brother Orthodox Mo, Assalamu alaikum. What the main point that I've recognized is where me and Shaka are, let's say, on a different page, or let's say a different side of the same page.
Here we go.
Because he's talking about when Malcolm came back, Malcolm had an intention and an agenda, right? I'm saying I'm talking about Malcolm's agenda because if he's got certain things in his mind, if he's spoken certain things, let's say in secret or whatever it is, the people that are looking at Malcolm, at first, and this is the thing I keep pointing out, his experience and what he says about it. Then he sets up this Sunni masjid. I'm saying those things, I know you're saying he didn't turn anyone away, but bro, even when I converted, I was in the same Sunni masjid I used to go to. I was trying to give them all dawah and letting them know how Abu Bakr left Islam and all of that stuff. Obviously, that wasn't too welcome by the majority of the older men, Pakistanis and the other Salafis. But I'm saying no one turned me away from the masjid, bro. And the other masjid, obviously, with my big mouth, I became well known in the area. You know what I mean? Which I probably shouldn't have. But my point is that just because he didn't turn them away, that's not an issue. My point is, if he is already a leader, if you're already leading people somewhere, they're already following you, right? And let's say you was gonna go straight on, but you decided going straight on at this point wouldn't be the best thing for the people. Now, in your head, you're gonna turn right without telling them, because if you tell them, this will actually maybe alert the enemy that's ahead of you or something. So you just turn right, they follow you right. Now, if you die on your way to turn left again and come back on the same path later on, right? They don't know that. All they know is you took a right. So I'm saying, when the people know, Malcolm, big explanation of his finding this religion. Yes, he wanted it for the world. Then he gets back and he says, well, you know what? This is my thing. I've set up this masjid. I'm just saying from their perspective, he has legitimatized. This is the key thing. He's endorsed and legitimatized this particular, what we call brand of Islam. That's it. That's the basic thing I'm saying.
Question, Isa.
Yeah. What form of Sunni Islam did he back publicly?
What he endorsed, what he mentioned.
What school of thought? What school of thought? Because he public, so we can see where he publicly rejected the Salafi school of thought. What school of thought did he accept?
Right, because it's Saudi Arabia, people are going to understand that this is people think literally that is Islam. Especially, I mean, they thought that in the 1995, 96, that's what people thought is anything else other than what came out of Saudi Arabia to a lot of people was not Islam. And it was in 1990s, never mind bloody 1940s, 50s and 60s, yeah, bro.
Question, yeah. What makes the statements that Malcolm X made in and just after the Mecca experience, more significant than the statements that he made in the two rallies for the launching of the OAAU, the speeches for freedom, where he said our problem is beyond religion, the speech in Mississippi where he said that religion is not sufficient to deal with our problem, the charter for the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which he was scheduled to deliver on the day that he was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what makes those statements and what he said in the autobiography, yeah, what makes those statements, yeah, more important in terms of how and where he's leading people than all of the rest of these very public statements that he's making.
Okay, brilliant. Watch this now. One of the things when you said he said something, what was it? You just quoted it as well. And I was going to jump in. Something like religion alone can't do it. Something like that. And when he said something like, "It's my personal thing," when you look at the context of the whole speech, or even just that paragraph, what he's saying is, because he had this euphoric experience himself in Mecca, he gets back to reality. Not everyone's willing to just accept the religion. So that's why he then goes on to say he'll work with anybody of any religion. And he goes on to say, because you'll be arguing and debating about which religion's right. So the context of him saying that is not that he himself is not endorsing Sunniism. It's just that he can't convince or click his fingers and everyone magically sees things his way.
Substantiate that point, bro. Substantiate that point.
In and of that, him continuously stating that he is a Muslim, and his version of being a Muslim is that Saudi Arabian Sunniism, right? As we see from what he wrote.
Where did he say Saudi Arabian Sunniism, bro? Break that one down for me.
No. I'm saying to you, his words while he was there, what he's experienced. Yes,
I hear you, but I'm saying, bro, you keep putting the Salafism on him, but he rejected that.
Son, the Sunniism is how he just refers.
As opposed to the Black Power racist Nation of Islam that he was on before.
Bro, I hear you, Isa. I hear you, but when you say Saudi Arabian Sunnism, you're saying Salafi, bro. I don't care what you're saying, bro. You're saying Salafi, but he publicly rejected the Salafi concept. So I'm asking you, what form of Sunni Islam did he accept publicly?
Whatever he found in Saudi Arabia. Yes.
Okay, so Shaka told you he spent less time in Saudi Arabia than he did in Africa. Yes.
Hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't suggest that he had time to make any big distinctions between the Hanafi, Maliki, Wahhabi, Salafi, and so on. But for sure, he was on Orthodox Sunni Islam. Do you understand? So
so my question to you is, what school of thought within that? Because you're putting the Salafi on him all day.
Hanafi and Hanbali Sunniism, the most basic aspect. And my whole point, bro, is that he's legitimized and endorsed this version. Because I'm saying the opposite of that would be
okay. Now, why?
This group here has missed out 12 divinely appointed successors after the Prophet. These are clear distinctions, clear lines of distinction. Do you get what I'm saying? So no matter whichever class of Sunni you wanted to put in, Wahhabi, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, whichever one, Sufi, whatever Sunni you wanted to put him in, he's still on that side of the fence of Sunni. That's the main factor.
Okay, so now where did he say publicly that it's a bad thing to be Shia?
No, he didn't, bro.
Okay, got it, coach. Got it, coach.
I'm saying to you that by him not saying to people, I found out that this Sunni religion, like me, for instance, all right, he left the Nation of Islam, and then he went back and said, because I've called all these people to it, I have to make sure no one else joins it based upon my word. So I now have to come out and let you know, don't join this religion. Likewise, he didn't get to the point, he didn't live long enough for him to study and realize that all of the Sunni religion is anti-black. That's what I'm saying. He didn't live that long.
I hear you, but check out this point real quick.
Maybe they stopped for that reason.
When he came back from Mecca, right? He basically in a very public speech in front of media and whatnot, where they question him, he breaks down like one of his biggest beefs with Elijah Muhammad was the fact that he brought the black man in America a form of Islam that would have him rejected in the Islamic world. So when he's talking about Orthodox Islam, he's not talking about Sunni Islam. He's talking about the Orthodox Islamic world, which would include Shia Islam. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Are you serious?
No,
as a heart attack.
Oh, you got bored.
A heart attack.
Isa, what you have to realize though, yeah, is that there is some historical basis for what the government is saying, because it is known, yeah, it's not known widely, but it is known that Malcolm X did have relationships with Shia Muslims.
Yes.
Yeah. right?
Brother, I know.
Right.
So that was mainly on a political basis, number one.
But you know, bro, you're making. Yeah, you have to now, like substantiate.
I can't even believe,
bro. No, it's not easy, bro. Let me speak. You have to now.
I can't even believe this.
Isa,
Orthodox Islam
you
on
have to
planet
now.
Earth. Back then, and even now, it's bloody Sunnis.
You have to now substantiate the idea of what you're saying, though, because if you're saying that,
I can't even believe I have to substantiate.
You made a statement, bro, and I don't think it can be made out to be fact. So what you said was that he's basically saying that because he can't just go all out there in terms of teaching them about Sunniism, so he had to wait. Yeah, and basically, right. And how do you substantiate that claim? Because
what did you say? I said what? He had to wait. When did I say that?
Because you're saying that he couldn't just go all out there and teach them about Sunniism because most people wouldn't be on it.
No, I didn't say that. No. What I said was when he came back, he had the euphoric experience. Yes, and saying, this would cure the white man of racism. All this stuff, he's like he's hallucinating.
Yeah, perhaps,
in the fancy land of HUD.
Perhaps.
I'm saying when he came back, yes, he was down to the reality, and that's why he's now saying it's beyond religion, because he can't click his fingers and everyone convert into what he believes, which was Sunniism, is the solution to the problem. But that's why he's saying he'll work with everyone else regardless of religion, but his personal religion. And then he went on to say that we'd spend more time debating and arguing about who's got the right religion than solving the black problem.
But brother, he was saying that before he went.
That's right.
He was saying that before he went to Mecca. He was saying from he left the Nation of Islam, because I said to you before, bro, that was one of his contentions in the Nation of Islam. He made representation to the leadership of the Nation of Islam specifically on this issue, for the need for the nation to be more engaged with the people on the ground and the people that represent different schools of thought and groups within the black community.
That's not the bit I'm talking about. I'm saying,
what did he mean?
In relation,
what do you mean by beyond religion? Beyond religion, what does that mean?
I would accept this, and Islam is the only religion that will cure the race problem. Remember, I read all these quotes out. I'm saying to you, when he came back to say it's beyond religion, the context in these of the other quote as well, is
what does that mean?
That people will not convert to what he believes to be is the solution to the problem. So therefore, he's got no choice but to work with them.
Yeah, but bro, that's what I'm saying is that what you're doing there, is putting two and two together and making five. It's speculation, because
no, but he said that.
No, he said, bro,
because you're not telling the truth. He himself says otherwise, so he's explaining that otherwise we would spend more time arguing about who's got the right religion or who's the truth.
But you're putting two different things together.
Solving the problem. So he's explaining
together,
exactly why he's going down that path.
You're putting two different things together. There's one thing where he's talking about American racism, yes, and the idea that what he calls brotherhood, the principle of brotherhood that he experienced, in Mecca, if white people were to adopt this, then it would eradicate the racism from them, This is not, but the issue to do with African people or black people is a different thing. He's not even saying that white people getting rid of their racism solves the black problem, because he tried to organize black people. Before he went to Mecca and Africa, he specifically said, I am going over there to get a better idea of their problems and inform them about our problems. And when I come back, I hope to inform you, specifically in relation to Africa, give you the information and inform you of their love for their love for us and the benefits that we've made from forming all of these relationships. This was his agenda before he left the country. So he's not coming back saying anything different. He's done exactly what he said he was going to do. He hasn't come back and thought to himself, you know what, really truly, I want to give them Islam, but I can't really give them Islam right now because they're not all going to convert. So let me organize black people instead. He was already going to do that. That was already the program.
That's fine.
Yeah, and so what if I said to you, bro? What if I said to you, that one of the key people that was responsible for organizing, or there are some who suggest that one of the key people for organizing his actual Hajj, was a Shia Muslim. What's his name, bro?
Working together for time, bro.
What's his name? What's his name? What's the guy's name?
I can't remember. I can't remember, Dr. something. I can't remember his name, but go on.
Mohammed Taqi Mehdi, yeah, right? Who was a Shia from Iraq, yeah, who introduced certain things to man, and apparently, he was
he had connections, correct?
Yeah, he had connections, but I also one second.
It wasn't a religious thing. I'm facilitating
no, bro.
for you.
One second. One of the things
they don't care about
one of the things that Mahdi,
right now.
bro. One of the things that Mahdi apparently did, yes, was teach, expose Umar Malcolm X to Imam Hussein, yeah, and the plight of Imam Hussein. My point is that, and I'm not saying I don't know the extent to which there is some idea that this was an inspiration for him in some way, shape, or form because of the fate that met the both of them, basically. Yeah, Malcolm X. Some people that are impassioned by this inclination suggest that because Imam Hussein met his fate, yeah, without fear or favor, and boldly, that Malcolm X, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying, to do similar. My point is that this is a man who was not unaware of all of these dynamics. You see what I'm saying? But what he taught, what he was teaching, is black organization and black power. That's what he was dealing with. So we can't take the statements that you're making. Hold on, and make them more important than all of these things that he was saying when he came back from Mecca and Africa, and say that that's or Sunnism. What he was dealing with.
What I want you to do, brother, is when I said we are speaking about the same page but on different sides of it. Everything you said again relate to Malcolm's intention. What I'm saying to you, let's say me and you join the Nation of Islam because of Malcolm X. We follow through his journey. We leave the Nation of Islam because of Malcolm X. We don't know him that intimately, right? We don't chill on his table and go to his house or nothing, but we join because of that. And this brother found this thing, and then he could eat it with white people and blonde hair, blue-eyed people, and all of this stuff. How does that affect my mind and your mind after we joined the Nation of Islam because of him, and I left because of him? Because we're following him. We're people. You can read that much in his time, right?
Issa, what if I said to you that Omar and Malcolm X is...
Can black people be effectively organized without religion?
One sec.
Without black religion. Can black people be effectively organized without a new black religion?
That's a good question. But
can black people?
Yes, bro. We heard you, bro. We heard you, right? What's it called? What if I said to you, many people who are African spiritualists today are African spiritualists partly due to the inspiration of Malcolm X?
Yeah, an African spiritualist is not a black spiritualist. Some Africans deny black.
I don't do that, bruh.
Both of you are speaking. I can't hear nobody.
Some Africans deny black identity. Some African people say they're African, but they deny black identity. How are you going to organize them?
One sec. IC3. Brother, because we're doing
Black African,
specifically relating to the debate on Malcolm X. Now, if we want to bring in the term black in the definitions you're coming with, then maybe we could do that on a different show.
Say black or more.
Mean by black?
Same beats there.
Definition, brother.
Same beats there. Join the chat, innit? Because man's got nothing to say in it, so join the chat. I want him to Leon. Leon disappeared. Leon fall asleep in
Damn, man.
Somebody had me.
I just edit some video of them, you know. You say you want to send the link in? You want to send the link in?
Yeah, because Zabe's got nothing to say in it. I'm saying man for come through it if man's got talking it.
Let's
big up man like Leon. Appreciate you, brother, man.
Respond from the angle of which I put my point.
Go on.
Yeah, my point is from the angle. I gave the example of me and you, because we both love brother Malcolm X. So I'm saying we both joined the Nation of Islam.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We both left it as he left it. We're waiting to hear back. We hear he's on Mecca. We're waiting to hear back from him.
Right.
We get this letter he wrote, and then this information. But bro, so let me give you an example. I felt the same sincerity that I felt among the black African. Let me go back a bit. While praying to the same God with fellow Muslims whose eyes were the bluest of blue, whose hair were the blondest of blonde, and whose skin was the white. in the actions and in the deeds of the white Muslims. I felt the same sincerity that I felt among the black African Muslims of Nigeria, Sudan, and Ghana. We're truly all the same brothers in brackets, because their belief in the one God has removed the white from their minds, the white from their behavior, and the white from their attitude. I'm saying this is absolute garbage. I'm saying this is not true. This is an experience in Mecca. So I'm saying me and you, who have just left this thing waiting back, we following him are going to think, oh my gosh, this Islam he's found in Mecca. Understand?
All right, yeah. So
no, hold on real quick, Issa, bro. First, there's two things that got to be addressed off what you said right there, right? There's 2 points off that. One, there's a reason why he specifically wrote that letter back to the people in America, right? And two, again, black people in America at the time didn't know nothing about no Sunni or no Shia Islam, right? And they weren't tripping on the trip in Mecca. They were tripping on the majority of time he spent in Africa, right?
I am the one putting the Sunni on it. So stop bringing Sunni and Shia. I'm saying to you.
No, I got you. That's why I'm touching that part.
I'm going to answer it as well.
No, because he's taking the conversation somewhere else. I'm saying us living here now that know fully well about Sunni and Shia because the internet and whatever else and because of my big mouth. I'm saying to you, looking back, that's what he brought. So we're not saying black people back then knew about Sunni Shia. They knew about Islam and possibly anything orthodox.
I got you. Let me address the first part of that though, real quick. Like, so the reason why he sent that letter back to America, right? Because as an American Muslim, right, understanding the legacy of Malcolm X here, when you study what he was saying, when he was like with the nation when he left the one, there was this famous statement he had about where a white woman came up to him outside of an establishment, right?
Oh, you're speaking way fast, bro.
My fault. I got my people from the South or whatnot. That's Southern English right there. Anyway, so
where you from?
I got people from like half my people from Alabama and whatnot. So yeah, I live on the West Coast now. But anyway, so Malcolm X there's a famous exchange he had with a white woman to where she came up to him and asked him, "What can we do to help you in the movement and whatnot?" He famously said nothing. And if you go into the same biography that you cracked at the park, right, he stipulates that's his one biggest regret that he did in his entire life as an activist was that one moment, because it made a division where it didn't need to be a division. So that the point of that letter wasn't about getting people to look at Mecca. It was to get people to understand that he was not on a racist Islamic tip, because the whole racist Islamic thing was a big thing happening in America with the whole black Muslim narrative.
We just stop right there, bro. Leon, you listen. Leon.
Your background's winning, not.
Hold on. Hello? Leon.
Somebody's typing.
Say again? They ain't me.
Okay. Is that Leon?
Yeah. Well done.
Okay, listen. I want you to listen to his response. He goes into the reason why Malcolm X wrote the letter. How many times do I have to give the example of
the phone's breaking up, fam.
And the kinetic effect of that.
Let me answer.
Going up to how Malcolm's agenda, what Malcolm wrote it for.
No, but you can't say that, bro.
What do I need to say?
Bro,
I'm talking only from the perspective
of his followers. Right. Let me deal with it then, bro. Let me deal with it, yeah? So I'm a follower of Malcolm X, yes?
Yes.
Right? He leaves to go to Mecca.
Right.
Yes. He leaves to go to and he goes to Africa.
Right.
Yes. He spends more time in Africa than he does in Mecca. Yes.
Right.
And when he comes back, and by the way, the Muslim Mosque Incorporated was set up before he went. Yes? Not after. Pardon me?
Yes.
Right? It was set up before he went. So the mosque was already established before the Mecca experience. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Right? So we're doing this thing. He comes back and he says, what we're going to do is we're going to set up an organization called the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Yes? These are the principles. This is what we're going to be moving towards. We're going to write up a charter on this thing. Yeah? For those of us who are Muslims, we're going to continue to worship Allah and practice Islam as it is practiced in these places. Yes? And then he does a rally. Yeah? Whereby he begins to launch the Organization of Afro-American Unity and begin to outline some of the principles and some of the values. At the same time, he's gathering a lot of the black nationalists that are around him. Yeah, many people don't know that John Henrik Clarke was the actual person who penned the final draft that we have today of the program of the OAAU, the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Yeah, there's another elder by the name of Elder Michel, yeah, who owned a bookshop, yeah, who Malcolm X was fraternizing for a very long time, all right, who was around all this energy as well. His big sister, yeah, was around, Ella Collins was around all this energy as well, right? So I've seen Malcolm set up the mosque, and now I'm seeing him establish the Organization of Afro-American Unity and forward a distinctly Pan-African agenda and say things like when that race pride develops, yeah, if I've got time, I'll play this video for you, yeah. It has a tendency to make us want to work together and build together and stay together. And your Western imperialists considers that to be a grave threat, more a threat than Marxism or socialism or communism or any other kind of ism. Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat. He goes to France and he organizes he said that statement in France, and he organizes a branch of the OAAU there. He comes to Britain and he's seeing the roads for organizing the branch of the OAAU here. Yes, and I'm seeing them do all these things, and I followed him into both those organizations. And in fact, more people followed Omawale Malcolm X into the OAAU than into the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. Yeah. So if I'm a follower of Malcolm X and I see him do all of these things, why, as a follower who left him from the Nation of Islam into the Muslim Mosque Incorporated, into the OAAU, why am I going to put the Muslim Mosque Incorporated and elevate it over the Organization of Afro-American Unity in terms of the significance of what Malcolm X is leading me into?
Brilliant. So this is what I'm telling you, and I don't know why you're not paying attention to it. Malcolm X advocate, what's the word? I already said, legitimize this thing. Now, like I said, the only way you're going to understand is when you see what Sunnism actually is.
No, bro, I don't have to know what Sunnism is. I have to know what Malcolm X believes.
KKK thing or some sort of music that was saying the N-word to kill each other and gangster.
My question would be, did he understand?
You would totally agree with me.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't, bro. No, I wouldn't. The question would be, did he understand what this thing was and what was he promoting in the use of it? That's my question. All I would do.
Are you really trying to tell me, bro, that Malcolm X would have come back to promote the N-word? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not saying that, but we're using it. You're giving me an example. But I'm saying, let's say he did. Yeah, my question would be, what did he understand of this thing? And if I'm clear that he understood this thing for the truth of what it was, then I'll put it in that context. If I'm clear that he may not have understood the fullness of this thing, then I'll also put it in that context. Yeah? If you're saying, bro, you're saying that by setting up the Muslim Mosque Incorporated, Malcolm X legitimized Sunni Islam. That's your argument. Yeah?
Not just that, right? Bro, I'm saying all of it together. In other words, he didn't get as far as saying, you know what, me study this Sunni thing now. I now know it's absolute garbage.
But bro, why are you not saying then? But what is the value?
But that wasn't his focus though.
What is the value of his legitimization of black nationalism and Pan-Africanism?
Somebody said that wasn't his focus. I'm saying for the people, but let's say somebody is not interested in Pan-Africanism.
But who is a follower of Malcolm X? That's not
in religion.
No, right? Bro, but you have to demonstrate that, bro. You have to demonstrate that, bro.
If they were trying to choose what you call Abrahamic faith, right, and they were following Malcolm,
bro,
has now legitimized that.
Yeah, but Malcolm wasn't trying to produce the faith. The reason why he started the Muslim organization was to be able to deal with
brother Isa.
The reason why he was promoting that.
He legitimized, if he indeed legitimized by setting up the Muslim Mosque Incorporated, he certainly legitimized black nationalism.
A Muslim Sunni himself. That's the main part of it.
So that's cool. By being a black nationalist Pan-Africanist, he certainly legitimized black nationalism and Pan-Africanism. Yeah, he legitimized
exactly.
that.
That's what, bro. This is why I call it Sunni coonism. A coon is somebody who has joined something. Yes, when I'm talking about Malcolm X, yes, there is a guise where the person appears black powered. So I'm saying on one side of Malcolm's, agenda is this black power thing, but unknown to him, he's also latched onto this anti-black coonism. That's my whole bloody point of what I'm saying.
There he goes with that coon word again, bro. Yo, Moore, you better get him, bro. Talk to your Muslim brother, bro. He's using the coon word.
Man is not getting it. Man is not.
Hey man, I can't defend my
Bro, you
brother.
gotta talk to him, bro. I ain't gonna. You better make dawa or something, bro.
I gotta advise my man on the side with that one first. You know what I'm saying? He's in public right now. He gotta handle his own right now.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if
You so fast, man. You sound like you're from the Caribbean, bro. You talk fast as well, man. You from
Say what?
fast.
he said you talk fast like you're from the Caribbean.
Like I said, my people are from the South, bro. That's how it gets down.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
what are you saying,
understand
Orthodox more?
what more to say. Like, I think you can't. To me, it's incorrect. Yeah, to flag up the Muslim cooperating as though
It's blasphemous.
as though it had a superior influence on the people that followed Malcolm X.
Yeah, check this out. It's defunct right now. It's not even active, right? But like the Waradik Muhammad body of Islam is still active in this country.
Somebody's looking for a religion. They come out of Christianity because that's their religion, right? That's in their head. They want something else to follow. They want Malcolm X to be the man. I'm saying they're not interested in, at the moment, they think anything African spiritual is voodoo and magic and obeah and whatever, right? Malcolm X has this attachment to this. So now they're like, boom, this is it. That's all I'm saying. So all the other stuff I'm talking about this particular thing.
You
Because
can't.
I hear you again, but here's what I'm saying. Like you can't enforce your own English on what happened at the time, right? Like my man said when he came back when he came back from Mecca, he was talking about this concept of Orthodox Islam, right? Orthodox Islam is any Muslim that can get into Mecca, right? Shias can get into Mecca, right? And he was mad at this concept of Elijah Muhammad bringing Islam that separated the black Muslim from the African Muslim world. So again, when Malcolm was going to Africa and whatnot, he couldn't. Hold on. I gotta finish this point, bro. I gotta finish this part. Let me land right quick. Let me land. 5 seconds. Let me land, Doc. 5 seconds, bro. Honestly, again, so being an Orthodox Muslim connected the black Muslim and his mosque incorporated concept to the African Muslim. That's the whole point. Because before that point, him and all the other black Muslims were talking about this concept of Allah coming in the flesh of Farad Muhammad. He couldn't even get through the Mecca courts with that nonsense.
Already, how many times the people listening and following, all he's done is legitimize. So let me give an example of the UK. There were a lot of guys before in the 1990s, right? When the Malcolm X movie came out, the year 2000 was coming, and a lot of people were looking for what to go. Some people started going back to church. Some people were joining Dr. York. Some people were joining the Nation of Islam, and other people, because of the Malcolm X movie, they were.
I'm going to agree with you.
Islam.
I'm going to agree with you.
No, agree. Thing as well.
I'm going to agree with you, bro. A lot of people were inspired to join so-called Orthodox Islam as a result of the Malcolm X movie.
Same thing with Nation of Islam too. A lot of people join the nation because of that.
Join the Nation of Islam.
Sorry, say that again, Shaka.
I'll say I'm agreeing with you. A lot of people join so-called Orthodox Islam as a result of the Malcolm X movie. Orthodox more is correct. In my estimation, also when he says that a lot of people join the Nation of Islam off of the Malcolm X,
right? And when they join the Sunni movement, they join the Waradik body.
Hold on, bro. Right. So right. What's it called? A lot of people just got involved in blackness, because of the Malcolm X movie. Fact, it remains the Malcolm X movie followed the distorted narrative of the white socialists and the Sunnis in Saudi Arabia in that respect. It's a distortion of the legacy. One second. Let me ask you. Answer my question first. Would you agree? 1 second, bro. Answer my question first. Right? I'm asking you again. Why is it that with all the things that Malcolm X said, do you believe, that these statements with regards to Islam and Mecca, are the key ones, the ones that would have the most impact upon the people that were following him at that time?
Okay, the reason is because most of them would have seen anything to do with spiritual African tradition as being juju and obeah and things which you should never get into. So something that's what you consider the Abrahamic faith, where it's just we believe in the same prophets, it's just the last messenger. It's not a fast step, as me and you discussed and agreed before. So there you go. It's an easy option. But my only point to you, bro, it doesn't matter. I'm saying if somebody, let's say let's say 10 different traditions were put on the table before Malcolm X, right?
Mhm.
I'm saying as long as he selected Sunni to be something, there's an option for us. He's legitimatized it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So,
And,
but I'm
and
saying,
I'm saying to
But
you,
he also legitimatized Shia Islam too. That's the point.
until it's proven that it is thoroughly, disgustingly anti-black. I can see that's the main issue.
Isa, did
Until
Malcolm
you can
X
see what it's really saying?
did Malcolm X
Isa,
did Malcolm X legitimize black nationalism?
of course,
Did Malcolm X legitimize Pan-Africanism?
of course.
Right. So what makes the legitimization of Sunni Islam, as you're putting it, yeah, more powerful in relation to those that follow him?
I didn't. This is what I'm saying, bro. I'm not
So
saying
my
it's
point-
more
so my
powerful,
point-
because the other two you mentioned
But if you're
are
not saying,
pro-black.
then
Here's
bro,
the difference. Now,
exactly.
hopefully you get some-
That's the
other
point.
two are pro-black, but Sunniism is anti-black.
Key
That's why
point,
I'm
Isa.
pointing that
Key
out.
point, Isa.
Don't you
Key
get
point.
it, bro? That's
Key
what I'm
point.
saying.
Key point.
Jesus.
If what Malcolm X is promoting, yes, after he comes back from Mecca, is pro-black, he cannot be the founder of Sunni Kunism. He cannot be the leader of Sunni Kunism. It's impossible.
Brother, you've now done something else. I'm saying to you, right?
Let me read
that
for
once
you.
people follow him
the
into
program,
Sunniism, as
bro,
long as people
let me
follow him into, let me put it like this: once you get more than 1,000 people being inspired to become Sunni because of Malcolm X, that's it. All right.
So
there you
what?
go.
So what?
And
So
that's
what
the
if
end
the
of that
numbers of?
argument.
So what if the numbers of people that are inspired to become black nationalist Pan-Africanists are larger than
That's
those
true,
who
because
become Sunni
it's not
Muslims?
anti-black. That's this is.
Hold on, but I said
saying-
because it's, all right, let me read you something, bro. Yeah, let me read something, because most people that study the legacy of Omar Malcolm X have no idea about the program of the OAAU. Yeah, so for the sake of everyone
that
listening,
won't change nothing,
right,
bro.
it will,
Even if he legitimatized the Nation of Islam afterwards, and he come back and he said that's also an option, but he said, you know what?
You know what it is?
Hey, if I may,
Kick them out.
can I ask him one thing? Maybe I'm
He's still legitimized.
All you're demonstrating is that for you, the key card, the thing that makes or breaks the thing, is his relationship with Sunni Islam. Yeah, I am saying that you cannot superimpose your particular conviction on the legacy of Omar Malcolm X and what he's the leader of. Because
you're not. See what it is. You put this straw man of legacy. I don't even know why the hell you're mentioning legacy.
Okay, let me clarify that. Let me clarify that.
You have not denied.
Bro, the question
that
is,
he converted.
the premise
you
is,
haven't denied that he converted, and he said to the white media and generally kept saying it to whoever else.
He also said, I'm a black nationalist freedom fighter. He also said, whites can help us, but they can't join. He also said, Isa. The question is.
This is the problem when you're speaking. He also said whites can help us, but they can't join. Which means what? That's clearly an indication that what? This is a pro-black religion. Thank you very much for giving me that again. By him saying whites can't join, but they can help, he's now saying blacks can join because it's something that is good for black people.
Isa.
There you go again, bro.
You're conflating two things. He's talking about the nationalist movement at that junction.
Isa, 1 second, right? The reality is, yeah, when you ask a question like, is Malcolm X the founder of Black Sunni Kunism or the leader of Black Sunni Kunism, because we don't use the word legacy, doesn't mean that you're not referring to his legacy. If I am the founder of anything, then it is a part of my legacy.
By implication.
Let's go with it. What I'm saying is the debate was about leader, bro. So there's no point bringing in founder now, is it?
No,
right. So let me push back on that point right there by being leader.
Not the same.
The same goes. No, if I am the leader of something, it's a part of my legacy. If I am the leader of something, it is a part of my legacy.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Brother,
by implication.
This is what I'm saying. Do you agree there's two sides to it? There's the side of the person following, which can be misunderstood, and there's the side of the person who's a leader.
Isa, let me say one thing. Let me say one thing, brother. Shalom, brother. Shalom. I've been listening carefully to the first part and second part.
Yo, is that a more to Hebrew? What's good?
Yeah, what's good, brother? Bless up, man.
I'm surrounded by Abrahamics.
Shaka, big up, done now.
Surrounded by
just like Malcolm X, innit?
Surrounded by him,
dangerous.
Yeah, but let me say one thing. Yeah, like I listened to part 1 and part.
Well, bro, go ahead. I'll give it to you, brother Ezra. Give it to you.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I've been listening to part 1 and part 2, and like from the start, I understood where both sides are coming from in it, and like I feel like the part where he says like making people not understand him, yeah, is where I feel like he's when he's like, okay, the Malcolm X is an influencer of Sunni Coonism. I don't feel like you can call him a leader. That's where Shaka, yeah, is gonna have to draw the line, and I feel like I would draw the line there too. I wouldn't call him the leader of it, but like I feel like he was just getting onto. Some people have misled him, like misunderstood him, get me, and been misled into Sunni Coonism. So I agree with Isa in that sense, and I agree with Shaka in the sense of you can't call him the leader of it if people have been mistaken by him in it.
But this is the thing. I said main, and the thing is, I don't know why Shaka keeps missing out the word main, because I'm saying, because of these statements, as a person who's already a leader, right? He knows people are looking up to him already, right? He knows people are going to make decisions of what they choose based upon his decision of what he chooses and what he makes public. So I'm saying by him continuously saying, I am a Muslim, right? And as he says, whites can help, but they can't join. This is legitimatizing this dumb religion. And that's what and to be honest, the only time, you know what, Ezra, I can see it. The only time you lot are going to actually really see what I'm saying is when you actually see that the religion is anti-black as the KKK and neo-Nazis.
I can see.
That's your focus, bro. It's not what I do.
He's rooting himself in.
I want to read. I want to read the program of the OAAU a bit, yeah. Because
wait, Shaka. Before you do that, can I just ask a question to him?
Go on, bro.
Just so I'm not clear. Is the beef internal? Like, is his beef with Malcolm X more internal to Islam? Because I feel like we may be attacking him on something that he has internal to like his religion.
No. His mic is low. He's asking, is this beef with Malcolm X internal to Islam?
Beef internal to Islam. What you mean, like
is it a pro-black thing or is it just like a Sunni Shiite thing?
Oh, what he's asking is that is it a pro-black thing or is it a Sunni Shiite thing? Basically, our Sunni Shiite
not to Sunni Shiite. My whole thing. This is why I say Sunni Kun. I'm saying, let me state the statement again. Sunniism is anti-black. Nothing to do with Sunni Shiite. I'm a black man, right? You can't see the rest of my face, but you can see at least from the top of my nose, my forehead, and my hand. Everyone else in that part knows East of the Black Select is a black man. So they are anti-me, whether I'm Sunni, atheist, Christian, whatever, they're anti-me. That's the angle. And I'm saying that because of Malcolm X majorly, his choices as a black leader, right? And being Pan-Africanist made it worse because he's even further black, but he's a Muslim. He's black powered and he didn't convert to voodoo. He's black powered and he didn't convert to Ifa. He's black powered and he didn't convert to Kemet. By him remaining into the Sunni dumb Kufar religion, that legitimatized this anti-black religion. So you don't understand that. By him, if he left Sunniism and started, I'm dealing with the Ifa now, right? Then we would be like, okay, he left Sunniism and that's a thing for them Arab man.
And Muslims of
say.
And 99.9% of Muslims will call it kufar.
So are you more upset that he was utilized by the Sunnis to promote them?
Say again?
Was he more upset that the Sunnis used his, because they do that with Muhammad Ali too, that they utilized his him leaving the Nation of Islam? Is that what he's more mad at? Or is
he died.
I feel like the Sunnis just utilized them rather than them like actually.
Are you asking me that? Sorry.
Him promoting it.
I agree.
You know?
I'm saying
if that's what he's saying, I don't know.
But people are going to utilize it. Listen, this is common everywhere. Even Malcolm would have utilized whoever he can, etc. This is what they do. People in power and authority, that's what they do. I'm saying for Malcolm to continuously state that he is a Muslim, right? Even though he's a Pan-Africanist. And when he said Muslim, this meant Sunni, okay? Because that's the only Islam that he was, let's say, indoctrinated into. The way he prayed was as a Sunni. We don't pray the same. The way he done his wudu, his wash for prayer, was as a Sunni. When people tell me, oh, he was Orthodox and blah, 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 everything he was doing, his actual prayer, we have different ways of praying. 5 times a day. So how are people going to tell me, well, it's Orthodox? It's not blooming Orthodox. Our Shahada is different. Everything's blooming different in our religion, more or less. You get me? Even Sunni doctrines
everything ain't different, bro. You're exaggerating.
But anyway, let me get back to the subject. This specific thing that I'm talking about, brother, has nothing to do with Sunni versus Shia. I'm saying I can recognize how the mind works of people, that when somebody who's so pro-black is legitimatizing something that's anti-black without knowing it, when people follow him, they now think it's okay. And other people who were so institutionalized with this white Jesus, you know what I mean? People were just.
Yeah, I agree still.
Right.
That's correct.
I agree with you. Let me tell you where I agree with you, bro. Like, so when you did the history of the Sunni schools of thought and how it affected Africa, right? Like, so like Malcolm X in the latter stages of his life, right? In particular, the last month of his life, he talked a lot about the Moors and whatnot on the national concept, about how like the Moors were black Muslims, etc. Right? And when you look at the history of how, like, when the Moors went into Spain, they didn't have a madhab when they went into Spain. Abu Hanifa was 12 years old. Imam Jafar al-Sadiq was 13 years old, right? They didn't go with the madhab, right? But after they got there, you can see the people from the East coming in saying, hey, we want y'all to make us madhabs, like the Maliki school, the Zahiri school, all that. You know what I'm saying? And so after that point, you can see the division starting to happen amongst our people in Africa with Islam. You know what I'm saying? So, like, historically, I agree with you in the sense to where Sunnism on a political level, right, has a large context of having division amongst our community, etc. Whatnot. I don't disagree with that in any way, shape, or form, bro. What I'm vehemently disagreeing on is the fact that you're implying that, and please let me land on this point because this is very important, right? With American historical context and what Malcolm X and Islam he was exposed to says, right? When he was talking about this concept, he was writing back to America about this Islam of Mecca, not about Arabia, but this Islam of the Hajj, right? So in this Islam of the Hajj, there is no Sunni, there is no Shia, there is no Sufi. If we start beefing about that in Mecca, what happens to us, right? It's not a good day for us. We're not allowed to beef on that kind of stuff, right? So when you understand that concept, he's all like, this links back directly back to an American concept he was dealing with. So his foundation, his father was UNIA. He was in the Nation of Islam. In the Nation of Islam, they told him, and this is public knowledge, right? They told him in a public speech to go study the ways of the Moorish Science Temple of America and Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali talks about returning to the Islam of the Islamic creed of Mecca. Again, this concept of the Hajj, this Islam without a madhab. You know what I'm saying? You're not there beefing on that concept, right? Hence, again, he also in the Moorish Science of America concept, they also embrace Garvey as a prophet, right? And so this is something that heavily influences the background from which Malcolm X comes from, because again, that Garveyism concept is this one God, one aim, one destiny. You're not beefing over, are you Ahmadi, are you Shia, are you Sunni, are you a Moor, etc. Right? It's one God, one aim, one destiny. So I'm saying you really got to look at that. He's not talking about Arabian Salafi Islam. He's talking about the Islam of the Hajj, which does not know a madhab, it does not know a nation, it does not know a skin tone. I'll just leave it right there.
Well, but that's absolute nonsense, because the Hajj which Sunnis engage in right now, governed by the Saudi Arabia, is that the Hajj of the Prophet Muhammad?
What does that have to do with anything I just said?
The reality is,
I figured it out.
I figured it out.
When you go to Hajj, it's the Hajj of every Muslim. There's various things that were allowed in the time of the Prophet.
Is a Shia allowed to go to Hajj in Mecca? Yes or no? Is a Shia allowed to go to Hajj in Mecca? Yes or no? Simple yes or no. At the time of Malcolm X and right now, is a Shia allowed to go on Hajj?
Do wudu is different. Yes or no?
It's a simple intellectual question, bro. I'm asking you not to be full of shit right now. Can a Shia in the time of Malcolm X and now go to Mecca on Hajj? Yes or no?
Yes. What's up?
Okay. So what is what you're saying have to do with anything what I just talked about the Islam of the Hajj?
Practice done. In other words, if the ruling.
Where else do you go to Hajj, bro?
Of Mecca, Arabia.
Where else do you go to Hajj, bro?
It would be different. So stop with this thing that it's not a Sunni thing. It is.
It's not a Sunni thing, bro. How is it when a Shia can?
Only essential point though, because your only essential point for me though, yeah, is that if Malcolm X's conception of what it means to be a Muslim and what Islam means, as you accepted in the debate on Sunday, brother Isa, yeah, if those two things align with what your conception of these things were, you would agree with everything that he said. Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So in other words, if he believed in the 12 Imams, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, you would agree that Islam is the solution to racial injustice. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have used none of those.
And
What I'm
wiping
saying
the
is, I mean, you could say
wiping
so,
the
but this is
racism
not.
from
That's
the
not-
minds of white folks.
I didn't go on, but that's not, Rob. That's not my point. I'm just saying
No, but
we endorse this thing. But
It's an important point, bro, because I'm saying if you said that, I would disagree with you. Yeah, I would
agree. But then we'd be having a different debate.
I would
Debate,
consider
because me and you would then debate.
No. We'd have
put
a
a label.
bro. We will be having a different debate because your preoccupation would not be with Sunniism, right? That's the only variable here.
But
If Malcolm
have
X,
that same debate anyway, so the debate would be what?
The reality is
Islam versus Islam, right?
The reality is, the key, as far as you're concerned, the number one barometer, the number one litmus test, for this thing is Sunniism or not to Sunniism. To Sunni or not to Sunni, that is the question, right? That's your number one criteria. That is your number one criteria. And I'm saying, as a nationalist, Pan-Africanist, African spiritualist, man's taking into consideration other variables that you are not taking into consideration. That's all that's happening here, right? Hold on, because I'm saying, because if you, by your own admission, if Malcolm X became Shia, you said it in the debate, if it was if he turned Shia, it'd be a different thing. It'd mash out the whole place and whatever. So if man was a Shia, you would have agreed with everything that he said. The variable for you.
That's the bit. No.
That's what you said, bro. That's what you said. I asked you that.
No, bro. I didn't. That's the bit. I wouldn't agree with that. What I'm saying to you is, if he converted to that, and then he lived only a year or whatever, and he set up a true Islam masjid, and people then followed him into it, I would have said yes, that's true Islam, because it's not anti-black. That's my point. It's not anti-black. Let's say he became a Hebrew Israelite, right?
Bro, I'm yet to see, bro.
He did become a Hebrew Israelite, by the way.
Exactly.
What are you talking, bro? What are you talking about?
What? Valley of the Dry Bones. Do I have to play it now? What? Do I have to play it now? You don't know about the
Hebrew, bro? Come on, bro.
To know about the Valley of the Dry Bones speech, man.
Everyone
they say we are Hebrews,
Shakespeare's a Hebrew.
Say I'm Hebrew Israelite.
Shakespeare's a Hebrew. Correct. Everyone's a Hebrew, bro.
Wow. I said the things that hit me.
Man like Ezra, you know what I'm saying?
That's not contention. What I'm saying is he didn't come out there on national TV and say, you know what, my religion is Hebrew Israelite. And if he was a general Hebrew Israelite, he'd be saying he's a Muslim.
It's not a religion, that's why. It said, it
right,
told us clearly.
It
told us clearly.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, brother.
I do want to read from, as I've been saying here, from the program, the OAU. But I want to ask a question Orthodox more,
Yes, sir.
You're not Sunni.
No.
Would you agree with me that the majority of black people in Islam have been Sunni?
Yes.
Over history. So
the vast majority.
Yeah. So would you agree with me then that the vast majority of expressions in Islam that came in a pro-black element, yes, all right, would have been Sunni?
Hold on, let me slow this one down right quick. So historically, you got Deuce Muhammad Ali coming to America. Then you got him helping out the Ahmadi Muslims here, right? Then you got him dealing with the UNIE concept, right? Like, so Sunni Islam wasn't like the look of Islam in America that black people saw first in any way, shape, or form. In terms, after slavery, you know what I'm saying? Because obviously slaves came over soon.
Yeah, I'm talking about in history. So yes, I'd agree because I think that the Ahmadiyya were there before the Sunnis. And so I'd agree with that. Yeah, I'm not in contention with that. But I'm saying if we were to look at, like, let's say for example, Africans who fought against slavery on the continent, yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like they were definitely,
in the diaspora, most of them, if they were Muslim, they would have been Sunni.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 at least. Yeah.
Right, whatever. These kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all that.
Would I be correct in saying that the majority of expressions of Islam among black people, whether they're Black Power or Coonism, have been Sunni?
100%.
Right. Now, does that make sense? Would you agree with me? Would you agree with that assessment, Issa?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So it's possible for black people to be in Sunni religion, but have a concern and make a positive contribution towards Black Power initiatives. Yes, it's possible.
Most definitely, but not since let's say since the 1900s, hell no. But I'm saying
since the 1900s, bro.
In other words,
Oh, for fuck's sake.
even though it was detrimental in the past,
yes,
in other words, it would have contributed to black people.
Yes.
Right? Because we were more independent nations then. But after colonization, this had a detrimental effect on if you're a Sunni. That's my whole point. And that's why I say this was in modern day. You have to stick to the words that I'm saying.
Bear in mind, you know, this is how you know I'm a fair middle. Because I'm not able to any description. I consider Islam and Christianity to be largely destructive elements as far as relates to our people. If we was to look at the continent and them kind of things there, and the nature of invasions and these kinds of things there, whatever. But I would not deny when a man comes as a Muslim, and fights down colonialism, that I big up that brother there and respect the fact that he was a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Right? And I'm saying so that's what I'm saying. That, because if I say that even as I might critique the philosophical framework, that he was dealing with, 9 times out of 10, what happens, you know, is that Africans are not necessarily dealing with they've merged. We create what they call syncretization in it. So we merge some of them thing with some of the thing, and we make it work. That's how it happens in all of these religions. That's how we do things. You know what I'm saying? And we'll find that a lot. And so man disrespects the whole thing. But if I'm dealing with a person and what they led and what they were teaching, then I'm going to deal with what they led and what they were teaching and put their belief in that context.
This is all right. An example of what I'm saying, bro. Do you know about Mali? Right?
The Mali Empire.
You know about Boko Haram, yeah?
Oh yeah, the recent thing, Me and Scott were talking about it the other day,
No, but this is my point. What I'm trying to get at you, this is why I mentioned modern day. Because I'm saying, even me with my beliefs, living in West Africa back in the day when it's independent, it probably wouldn't even be a conversation. It'd be like, okay, let me tell you one of the things that you may not know. They also held the family of the Prophet in high esteem, but all they said, because they were majorly Sufi, all they said was, Imam Ali was the highest in spiritual knowledge and the esoteric and so on. And the others, the Imam Ali, the first one.
I know who Imam Ali is.
Hello?
Yeah, I know who Ali is. I know who Imam Ali is.
Okay. So Imam Ali was the highest in relation to knowledge and spirituality.
Yes.
So he was like the spiritual inheritor.
Yes.
And then they say, well, Abu Bakr is the political man. So they tried to harmonize the two. Because there was a lot of descendants of the Prophet in Africa, in West Africa throughout.
Yeah, bro.
Do you get me?
But bro, my point is this.
Hold on, one sec, bro. So what my point is, because that's why I said modern day, because it's a detriment now, yes, and you're seeing it to be a detriment, and I don't know why. You know what I mean? You're not taking.
Bro, I do see, but you know my perception of Islam. I've never hidden it, right? So I'm not. I said to you the other day, bro. I'm not gonna give you a dissertation on the virtues of Sunni Islam. I'm not going to do it. That's not my contention. My only contention is that what's good for black people is not dependent upon whether an African accepts Imam Ali or Abu Bakr. That's it.
No. That's another debate. But this is the thing. Let's leave this thing out. Yeah. Let me get the Sunni to hold his corner. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, this really can only be debated by a Sunni.
But let me read from the thing there.
And let me and you have a debate on whether true Islam,
or Pan-Africanism,
is the best liberation ideology for our people.
All right, now, if you want, we can throw African spirituality into my understanding of Pan-Africanism and keep.
No, sorry, that's what.
No, that's right. No, that's right.
Africanism as a big thing umbrella. Whatever you're saying, whatever you want to put in there, you name it as you wish.
Right, I do want to. So let me read from the program of the OAAU now. There's some important things in there that I think might be informative to this thing. All right, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, and there's things I'm gonna miss out. So the point number 1. In fact, I should really read the preamble first if I'm being serious. But true time. If I get time, I might come back to the preamble still. But it is very, very very, very important because it lays the foundation for the thing. But they've got a series of different points in here. And the first one is restoration. In order to enslave the African, it was necessary for our enslavers to completely sever our communication with the African continent and the Africans that remained there. In order to free ourselves from oppression, of our enslavers, then it is absolutely necessary for the Afro-American to restore communications with Africa. On the point, and they go on that bullet point. Under point number 2, which is reorientation, which is very important, the Organization of Afro-American Unity will develop in the Afro-American people a keen awareness of our relationship with the world at large and clarify our roles, rights, and responsibilities as human beings. We must change the thinking of the Afro-American by liberating our minds through the study of philosophies and psychologies, cultures, and languages that did not come from our racist oppressors. It goes on, reorientation. Provisions are being made, and this kind of touches on what Orthodox Moore was saying earlier. Provisions are being made for the study of languages such as Swahili, Hausa, and Arabic. These studies will give our people access to ideas and history of mankind at large, and thus increase our mental scope. All of these languages, the 3 languages that I mentioned, are widely spoken on the continent of Africa. Swahili is the widely spoken language. Hausa and Arabic are associated with the Islamic expressions on the African continent, specifically, yeah? The Organization of Afro-American Unity will encourage the Afro-American to travel to Africa, the Caribbean, and to other places where our culture has not been completely crushed by brutality and ruthlessness. Yeah. I'm gonna skip the part on education. There's economic security. There's a part that I wanted to read in terms of culture, but it's not up here at the moment, so I'm gonna find it here. But the whole point is that the OAAU was beginning to put a strong emphasis on the study and appreciation and reclamation of African culture. This is a fundamental point that 9 times out of 10, when you listen to people, they're not going to teach you this about Omawale Malcolm X. 9 times out of 10, when you listen to people that are teaching about Omawale Malcolm X, especially if they're coming from an Islamic perspective, they're not teaching about the OAAU and Malcolm X's Pan-Africanism and his Black nationalism. They're not teaching about these things. Yeah, if I can, I'll give way, and if I can find that quote on the culture, I'll come back to it.
Mm-hmm. Hello?
Well, go on, is everyone there?
We can talk, yeah?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Hey, Mo, when you're talking, bro, please slow down, man. You sound like someone from back home. This guy talks so fast.
You got to go to the West Coast, bro.
Yeah, my fault, brother, man. My fault. My apologies. I'll slow it down. I'll go Mace for you. I said that just to get you mad, real slow. So, hey, Issa, real quick though, bro. I want to sit down with you too and talk about Sunni Islam and whatnot, and Shia Islam and like all that type of stuff, and how they affect the Black community and all that type of stuff, and what forms are positive and negative, etc., and what's positive and negative about each form and whatnot.
Yeah, man. Man would like to see that reasoning still.
What it is, yeah, and this is the thing. It's like, because a lot of people keep promoting this Sunni versus Shia, I'm saying the Islam of the Quran. So
does Orthodox Moore have the Islam of the Quran?
No. Well, not since we last spoke, anyway. I don't know if because I think he
might have evolved.
He seems to has evolved certain ideas.
Okay,
I mean, it'd be good actually. I've come like, for instance, there's a brother that knows Arabic. He was a proper staunch Quranist, yeah, and he would only accept hadith that were what we call mutawatir or mass transmitted. And this brother kept coming against me and telling me this and Iranian this, Shia that, whatever. Next minute, the brother's finding these mutawatir, mass transmitted hadith about Imam Ali and Ahlul Bayt, and now this brother, because he's so knowledgeable in the Quran and Arabic, this Black American brother, he's busting up all of these other dumb Sunnis, so-called pro-Black Sunnis, left, right, and center on the internet. So for me, the Quranist, you know what I mean, is a good asset. You get me in this thing, because he's already rejected the Sunni religion, which is based upon hadith. The reason why the Quranist movement came about is because the Sunni put the hadith above the Quran. You get me? So that's where a person who's in the Sunni world, he said, hold on a minute, the Quran's supposed to be the criteria. But you're telling me this scholar said the chain of these narrations are hadith, are authentic, and then this hadith here tells you that this Quranic verse is not correct, or it twists the meaning of this Quranic verse. That's why people started to reject hadith outright because of Sunnism.
I
But
hear you, bro.
I've never in my life heard of anyone that was a Shia and left it and become a Quran.
All right.
I've heard them leave Shia, you know what I mean, outright.
Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah. But hadith is supposed to be the example of the Prophet, yeah.
In the sense of, you can, so for instance, somebody will say, I saw the Prophet pray like this.
Yeah.
I heard the Prophet say this. Or
Right.
the Prophet said to us, he gathered us around and said this.
Right. Now,
So
Isa,
it's an explanation of general history.
Yeah, I get it, right? Because right now we're dealing with the example of Umwali Malcolm X, isn't it? This is a different kind of hadith right now, isn't it, right? So that's right? So I said to you, yeah. So when it comes to these things, yeah, imagine somebody took something that Prophet Muhammad said, yeah, and made a school of thought out of it, yeah. And what he said in this particular instance may contradict some of the other things that he might have said, or that if you took this one thing, you would be taking his legacy out of context, yeah. If you only went by this particular thing, would you say that Prophet Muhammad is the leader of that school of thought?
In relation to the foundational principle, but yeah, because as long as he said he was that, yes, that's what. Bro, you're not getting the point. I'm saying as long as he said he was a Muslim, and when he said that, he done his prayers a certain way. He washed
Isa, but I know,
listen to what I'm saying to you. Listen to what I'm saying to you. The example you've given is not just based upon what he has said. If he himself is a Muslim, right, and when he says he's a Muslim, he is a Sunni. He washes and prays the way the Sunni does. He recites and everything else. Understand the Quran according to the Sunnis, etc. I'm saying to you, he himself is. So you can't just tell me, well, it's the hadith and the hadith, etc. If the Prophet himself was doing that thing and stood on that, then yes.
But that's what I asked you, bro. If the Prophet said it, but I'm saying that obviously Quran and hadith and these kinds of things are contextualized, yes. So you don't just take hadith by itself. You know what I'm saying?
No, but
right. She is generally saying that if the hadith don't match the Quran, you throw the hadith against the wall.
Is because the Sunni changed what Islam is, the image of Islam, using hadith, and not just separate hadith, which is also, they say, is commentary of the Quran called tafsir. So they would lie and say the Prophet said this relating to this verse. Or they would lie and say these verses, this is an incident.
So there's nothing that they proclaim that the Prophet Muhammad said that substantiates Sunnism. That's what you're saying. Nothing at all. There's nothing in all the pronouncements of Prophet Muhammad.
I'm going to agree with Isa on something real quick.
I've never heard of a Shia or anything in my life, yeah? Everything that I have concluded about Islam is all in Sunni books. So I'm saying, if you had a scale, yes, and you put what I'm saying on one side and what the Sunnis are saying on the other, all from Sunni books, it would outweigh them 1,000,000 to 1. It's that bad, brother. It really is that bad. I'm telling you straight. You remember, it took me years to really thoroughly get this down. It wouldn't. I didn't just jump emotionally from one side to the other.
I'll be honest with you, bro. I have looked into it. I studied it, and I get it to a certain degree. I'm still studying it, just out of interest. Cause I like studying religions as a hobby. Yeah. At the same time, when it comes to this subject, as I said, let me let Orthodox more go, and then I'll come back to the Hadith on one in my career.
Yeah. Let me ask this after that as well.
Yeah, hey, Shaka, I want your perception on something on this though. Like, so from my understanding, like the Sunnis have this concept of like the 4 rightly guided caliphs and whatnot, right? But at the same point in time, they reject the 4th caliph, which would be Imam Ali alayhi salam, correct?
The Sunnis reject Ali. That's my understanding. Yes.
Like, so I don't understand that. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, so if he's one of the rightly guided caliphs and whatnot, but he's rejected and whatnot, that doesn't. Like, there's a conflict there. Like, so when I look at this whole beef amongst the Sahaba and whatnot, like, so again, I don't got a dog in the fight because I'm not Sunni or Shia, right? I'm just looking at it.
No. Did you say the Sunnis reject Imam Ali? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No. It's not that. Let me show you how it works.
No. In this sense, right? Like, do they accept his hadith that aren't from this from like go ahead.
What it is, let me explain to both of you. During the time of Imam Ali, a lot of the companions fought against him.
Right.
Despite the Prophet calling him to be his successor, and both Sunni and Muslims agreeing Imam Ali is a rightly guided caliph. Right? So we say he should have been the first. Sunnis later on said he should have been the 4th. But to prove to you that Sunnism is made up, there was a period of time, which was about 70 years, that they cursed Ali in the masjid.
I hear you.
Rightly guided caliph. So we're saying to them, at which point did he become a rightly guided caliph? According to you people. This is why people like Shamsi and that will tell you, don't go into the history because it will cause doubt. That's what they used to tell me. Don't read this. There's a lot of problems because it will cause you to have doubt in Islam. That's what they used to tell me, bro. How are you gonna tell me? I'm a researcher.
I hear you. Here's what I'm saying. They don't actually accept him, or they don't actually accept him as a caliph.
And all that garbage. You get what I'm saying?
I hear you. Here's what I'm saying. Like they accept him in name only.
He's considered a fourth rightly guided caliph in the Sunni religion.
He considered, but again, like I'm putting in quotation marks as an outsider looking in. Like it looks like they're doing it in name only, because if he was actually accepted, like so why would there be any takfir anywhere on a Shia, anywhere in the Sunni community, right? It doesn't make any sense. Why would they not automatically accept for instance his concept on the Quran, his automatically accept his tafsir, automatically accept all of his hadith. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, this is my whole point. Exactly. You see what you said in name only, because it doesn't make any bloody sense to have him. Shaka, listen to this. Imam Ali compiled the Quran all by himself. Right? He knew the Quran off by heart. Abu Bakr sent different people to get scraps of bones and goat skin. Why is he the leader then? Because he usurped and he had followers.
And here's what's actually extra telling about it. Why is it that the Shias have the most hadith of Bilal? Right, like you can't really find Sunni hadith of Bilal. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't find too many hadith of him, period. But I got to go amongst the Shias to find it.
Because Abu Bakr usurped the Khalifa, Bilal refused to call it Adhan.
Exactly, man. Speak on it.
No one ever wonder what happened to Bilal, bro.
I'm saying.
No, you know
because he was so famous, fam. It was like, no, you better dust out here, bro.
And I hear you, yeah. My thing is this, yeah, because I think from what I have studied of this particular issue, I do believe that the Shias have some valid arguments in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to deny that. At the same time, I believe as far as black people are concerned, yeah, getting right what Amwali Malcolm X said is going to have more implications for us than what either Ali or Abu Bakr said. Yeah, personally speaking. Right? You know what I'm saying?
What?
Right?
Wait, this is the thing, yeah.
Right? So
I'm glad I met Shaka. I'm glad you started coming to the party. Now, for real, because what it is, I always wanted somebody that's physical here, because most of my debates before with anyone who's Afrocentric or Pan-Africanist was on Google Hangout to America. You get what I'm saying? And it would cut out and signals would go and all kinds of garbage. You couldn't hear each other. Because there's so many different hours to us, we had to step through 4 and 6 in the morning, all that garbage. You get me? So now we come face to face with a Pan-Africanist presenting African spiritual system versus the supreme wisdom of the Quran. Now that's something to see, bro. That's cool, bro. You know what I think, though, Shaka? I think we should actually have a proper event in a hall and charge people some big money to see something like that, bro. You get what I'm saying?
Boy, you know? Yeah. All right. Well, let's see it. Let's see what. Now, I don't have no problem with the event, you know. But when you say charge people big money in that, yeah.
I'm just making a point of how big up the event should be on such a subject. You get me?
But yeah, no. Yeah, it's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? We should reason like this and these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? I'm just very wary of because what you have to understand, Issa, yeah, is that from a Pan-Africanist perspective, this has been a major battlefield for a long time. The correct legacy of Omwali Malcolm X. Yeah. Right. And so man don't give no ground where it's concerned. Yeah. I've studied, I've watched. Look, I'm not a person that stays in my own bubble in the sense of that I listen to preachers and teachers from all kinds of religions and all kinds of political perspectives, yeah, relatively regularly. Yeah, man used to stay on the God channel and these things, right? You know what I'm saying? Just listening to what preachers are saying and that, right? And I'm saying that when it comes to there is a campaign among Muslims to teach on Omwali Malcolm X and make him this apolitical Muslim reformer, yeah? And it's very devious. Now, recently, since 9/11, yeah, and since the Muslim world has been positioning itself as the vanguard of anti-American imperialism, yes, you're starting to see some other, like these anti-capitalist kind of Muslims who are telling more of the truth of Malcolm X's legacy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, from their own perspective and these kinds of things, but towards the same agenda, right? So you're never gonna get the significant hardcore Black nationalist, Pan-Africanist perspective from them, as well as the fact that, as I said it previously at the park here, oftentimes when I have friends that convert to Islam, before they even learn about what the call to prayer and what prayers to make at what time of day, right? The first things they learn is that the Nation of Islam is not true Islam, and in that context, yeah, Malcolm X is used, yes, not as in respect of his legacy,
empowerment of you being a Black Muslim,
right? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's not as that.
Right?
It's him as a person that left Black powerism and converted to Sunni.
That's what they use it as, yeah. And I'm very clear that is not coming from Malcolm X. That is revisionism of Malcolm X. Yeah, so I don't give any ground, yeah, where this argument is concerned, none whatsoever, yeah. Because we've been dealing with these people for a very, very long time. You will never know that Malcolm X uttered the word Pan-Africanism if it weren't for the Malcolm X grassroots movement, the Garveyites of that era, and those who have been inspired. But people like one of the other books that I had at the park, yeah, is the Political Legacy of Malcolm X, which is by Obata Shaka, yeah, a scholar. And this is one of the first books, yeah, following all this revisionism that put Malcolm X's legacy in its proper context as regards to nationalism and Pan-Africanism. Yeah. So these are very, very old debates. I'm like Black Power brother earlier, who like man when I first saw the title, man took offense to this coon business. And man had to come and just deal with it. You get me? Like I weren't like, you know what I'm saying? Like I weren't really gonna, you know, like abide that kind of reference there in relation to a man like Omar Malcolm X. I'll tell you straight, I take this man personal. Yeah, few people that I've never met that I have not met in person have shaped me and the person who I am more than Omar Malcolm X on a personal level, but also the movement that I represent in it. And so I'm just saying that when it comes to these things, like I've studied hard the work, the program of the OAAU. You know what I'm saying? Whereas most people have not. Yeah, and so that's why I put it out there. And I make sure you know about that.
Yeah.
But you can't deny that this is the thing. When a man come back and tell you he is a Muslim and he's got, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Isa.
Let's say Muslim in effort and works and 90% Pan-African, pro-Africanist, or pro-Black. I'm saying that one fact is something for, especially at that time, people that were definitely, but back then that most Black people would deny being blooming African. Most
Isa, one second, brother.
I ain't no African, all that garbage, wasn't it?
Come on, hear me.
And that's why Malcolm X said, because that's what you and I are, African. And he told us that we're not American, we're African. Some of us think we landed on
Shaka. Let's hear what Malcolm X says we are himself, and let's hear some of the words of we can
Got it.
See what Malcolm said himself, yeah?
Got it.
All right, then.
Got it.
Yeah,
you have yours and me have mine too, so you can.
We believe in the truth that is in the Bible, but we don't believe in the lies that the white man has put in the Bible. We believe in the prophets and the scriptures they brought to the people. We believe in the resurrection of the dead. Not in the physical resurrection, but in mental resurrection. We believe that the so-called Negroes are most in need of mental resurrection. Therefore, they will be resurrected first. We believe in the resurrection of the dead, but not when you're physically dead. When you stop breathing and your heart stop beating, and that means that you in the ground, that's all you wrote. You are not going anywhere. Your soul isn't going anywhere. Your body isn't going anywhere. Nothing is happening after that. When you're dead, you're done. That's it. You can forget it. Then the test on and what about the resurrection? He said, that our people are dead. Negroes are dead. Walking out. You're the one that the book is talking about who is dead. Dead to the knowledge of yourself. Dead to the knowledge of your own people. Dead to the knowledge of your own God. Dead to the knowledge of the devil. You don't even know who the devil is. You think the devil is someone down inside the ground that's going to burn you after you're dead. Why the devil is drinking on down this earth. And he's giving you hell
I'm gonna watch that after I come off of this.
It gets important now. Listen.
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 In the last days, will be taught the truth. The trumpet of truth will sound in your ear. That is being sounded today. The trumpet of truth. And this truth strikes your ear and strikes your heart. It'll open your eyes. It'll open your ears. It'll make you stand up. It'll do the same thing for you that truth did for the dry bones in the valley. Because the picture of dry bones in the valley is talking about you. The picture of Lazarus laying dead 4 days is talking about you. You are Lazarus. You are the dry bones. You are the prodigal son. You are the lost sheep. You are the people about whom the Bible is speaking who will stand up in the last day when the trumpet is sounded. Black people are waking up. Black people are standing up. Black people are rising up and they're doing black. We believe we are the people of God's choice. That's what we believe. We believe we're the chosen people. We don't believe Jews are the chosen people. We don't believe Jews are the ones going to the promised land. We don't think Jews are a part of God. No, Jews are nothing but another part of that same race of devils that come out of Europe. They didn't even come out of the Holy Land. They come out of the kings of Europe. Furthermore, we believe we are the people of God's choice. As it is written that God would choose the rejected and despised. And we can find no other person fitting this description in these last days more than the so-called Negroes in America. We believe in the resurrection of the righteous. We believe in the judgment. We believe this first judgment will take place as God revealed right here in America. The judgment will take place in America. The resurrection will take place in America. The judgment will take place in America. The separation will take place in America. And the destruction will take place in America. Doom will take place in America. Doomsday will take place right here. This is the place the Bible is talking about. When the Bible mentions Babylon, it means America. When the Bible mentions Sodom and Gomorrah, that's America. When the Bible mentions Egypt, that's America. This is Rome. This is Babylon. This is that wicked kingdom that God is going to come and set flame to in the last day. And you're living in that day right now. And I'm glad.
Oh yeah. Big up on my clap, Malcolm.
Ezra, Ezra, it sounds like you need to join the Nation of Islam, bro.
No, sound like you need to join the Israelites, nigga.
No, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's like. All right, let me see us playing Malcolm here. Let me play some Malcolm around here. Right, and let some Malcolm speak. And then,
No, what's your opinions on that though? Does that sound like a Israelite or a Muslim to you?
well, bro, that's classic Nation of Islam teaching. That's normal.
That's classic Nation, bro.
Yeah, that's classic Nation of Islam teaching.
Yo, the Nation do not teach that Babylon is Rome and all that. That black people are the Israelites.
They do. They
He was in the Nation when he was saying that.
Yeah,
That was a nation speech, bro.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like obviously that's diverting from their teachings. That's what I'm saying. Like,
classic Nation teaching, bro.
Have you read the message of Black Man?
Yeah, that's classic Nation teaching.
Yeah.
The downfall. I think it's called the Downfall of America.
The Fall of America. The Fall of America.
Right, exactly.
Classic Nation teaching.
Have you read them? Bro, you think Elijah Muhammad easy, bro? Elijah Muhammad tell him straight, bro.
Classic Nation.
Everything, bro.
NOI doctrine and One West doctrine, like they go hand in hand, bro.
it clearly says you are the people of the book. Yeah, you are the people of. You get me, Zion. So I don't hear nothing else. It never said nothing about Africa, not about and all that. Yeah.
Bro, Leah Muhammad said the exact same thing at the reparations march in October, bro. Yeah, we are the people of the book. It's classic Nation of Islam teaching, bro.
Yeah, this is not classic. That's what I'm saying. That Farrakhan only brought out that not long ago again. You know?
No, bro. Nation of Islam have been saying that since 1930. We are the people of the book. The original black man, the Asiatic black man, the naked, the cream of the planet Earth. We're the original Jew.
Yeah, the Ishmaelites. That's what those claiming it for.
This is the Khalid Muhammad. You'll hear him. He's a terror Jews, imposter Jews. You are.
Khalid Muhammad. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying it's classic Nation teaching, bro.
That's not Elijah Muhammad teaching, no.
May I tell you?
It is, bro.
It is.
You know what?
That's the next debate. We'll get into that still.
This is easy, bro.
Yeah.
This is easy.
What is it?
Elijah Muhammad beat this down.
Let me play some Malcolm. Let me play some more Malcolm.
African Americans who are so-called Negro.
Listen.
One of the reasons that it is bad for us to continue to just refer to ourselves as so-called Negro, that's negative. When we say so-called Negro, that's pointing out what we aren't, but it isn't telling us what we are. We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. And because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. So our unwanted presence, the fact that we are unwanted, is becoming magnified in all of America's preachments today.
And I got one more here. Let me show you one more of them something here, because you see Malcolm X here, when I read bad man. So let me show you one more of these quotations.
The great kings and queens of Africa was presented by Anheuser-Busch to honor and preserve.
Yeah, David. All right, all of that. I got one more of these quotes if this thing will cooperate.
A part of the rich and proud African culture, and to cultivate a deeper understanding of the many contributions that history has made to the world. Alfonso I was the first ruler to modernize Black Africa on a grand scale. He encouraged his people to learn Christianity and new skills in masonry, carpentry, and agriculture.
All right, hold on.
I can't hear that passion though.
that went back a bit.
You say Afro-American.
Listen. Why is it not playing? Go on, play now.
Most people, when we say Afro-American, they think only of the Negroes in the United States, but they don't realize that 2/3 of Brazil consists of people of African blood, which means they're also Afro-American because Brazil is in South America. And in all of these, many of these countries in South America and Central America, and even in Canada, they are heavily populated with people whose ancestors came from Africa. So when you total up the number of Afro-Americans, real Afro-Americans, in the Western Hemisphere, there are perhaps 100 million. And if these people ever unite among themselves, not only is it necessary for the Afro-Americans in the United States to be organized, but it's also necessary for the Afro-Americans in the Caribbean, or the Afro-Cubans, the Afro-Brazilians. It's necessary for all of them to be organized. And then once they are organized in each place, we have to organize among ourselves so that the Afro-American in the United States will be working in conjunction in a coordinated program with those who are in Cuba and those in Brazil and those in Venezuela and those throughout the Caribbean and Haiti and in the West Indian Islands. And in this way, we actually get strength. And it's not an accident that there's no organization existing in the Western Hemisphere that's designed toward that end. It would be a direct threat to imperialism as it really exists and to colonialism as it exists in the West. And one of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. And one of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent and in a position to create its own image, and it's a positive image, those of us in the West look at the African image and see how positive it is. We begin to identify with it. We become proud of Africa, and we become proud of our African blood, our African heritage. And this is what is beginning to make the Africans in the Western Hemisphere today develop more race pride. And as this race pride develops, then it has the tendency to make us want to unite together and work together. And your Western imperialists and colonialists consider this to be a grave threat, more threat than communism or Marxism or socialism or anything else. The Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat.
Yeah, man, Malcolm X and all the brother Omar.
Yeah, man, big up. That was big.
Yeah, you know, I got to read something right quick. Hold on, I got to add up to it right quick. You know what I'm saying? So while he was incarcerated before becoming a Nation of Islam Muslim, he said this while debating amongst some people. This is in his autobiography on page 213. In a debate about whether or not Homer had ever existed, I threw into those white faces the theory that Homer only symbolized how white Europeans kidnapped black Africans, then blinded them so they could never get back their own people. Homer and Omar and Moor, you see, are related terms. It's like saying Peter, Pedro, and Petra, all three of which means rock. These blinded Moors, the European taught to sing about the Europeans' glorious accomplishments. Going further, in January of 1965, shortly before getting assassinated, he had this to say about the Moors. Also, he was in this speech. It was an interesting speech because it was all about nationality and going to the UN under nationality and what nationality we can organize under, etc., whatnot. And at the very end of the speech, you can find this actually online, the verbal form, but you can't. The audio form, they cut off this last portion of the speech, which is mad interesting. But he says this here, after having gone through a long list of African civilizations from the Nile all the way down and whatnot. He says this about the last civilization he talks about is the Moors, and he says this. Huh? Oh, okay. Oh, my fault. All right. So he says this. He ends his speech by saying this. Also at that same time or a little later was a civilization called the Moors. The Moors were also a dark-skinned people on the African continent who had a highly developed civilization. They were such magnificent warriors that they crossed the Straits of Gibraltar in, I think, the year 711, 8th century, conquered Portugal, what we today know as Portugal, Spain, and southern France, conquered it and ruled it for 700 years. And they admit that during this time, Europe was in the Dark Ages, meaning darkness, ignorance. And it was the only light spot, the only light of learning that existed on the European continent at that time were the universities that the Moors had erected in what we today know as Spain and Portugal. These were African universities that they set up in that area, and they ruled throughout that area up to a place known as Tours, where they were stopped by a Frenchman known in history as Charles Martel or Charles the Hammer. He stopped the invasion of the Africans, and these were Africans. They try to confuse you and me by calling them Moors so that you and I won't know what they were. But when you go home, look in the dictionary, look up the word M-O-O-R. It will tell you that Moor means black. Well, if Negro means black and Moor means black, then they're talking about the same people all the time. But they don't want you and me to know that we were warriors, that we conquered, that we had armies. They want you and me to think that we were always nonviolent and passive and peaceful and forgiving. Sure, we forgave our enemies in those days. After we killed them, we forgave them. Speech on Afro-American history in January, I think, hold on real quick. What's the date? Yeah, January 24th, 1965.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what man was dealing with, fam. Yeah, I'm gonna read from the Hadith once again. The program of the whole AAU. Yeah. Under establishment, he says, having stated our determination, confidence, and resolve, the Organization of Afro-American Unity is hereby established on the 15th day of February, 1965 in New York City, or in the city of New York. Upon this establishment, the Afro-American people will launch a cultural revolution which will provide the means for restoring our identity, that we might rejoin our brothers and sisters on the African continent, culturally, psychologically, economically, and share with them the sweet fruits of freedom from oppression and independence of racist governments. 1. The Organization of Afro-American Unity welcomes all persons of African origin to come together and dedicate their ideas, skills, and lives to free our people from oppression. And it goes on to talk about where and how the organization will be organized and developed. Yeah, it goes on to deal with the points of national identity, basic unity program, restoration is the first point, which I mentioned earlier, reorientation. Then there's education. Yeah, under reorientation, he says we can learn much about Africa by reading informative books and by listening to the experiences of those who have traveled there. But many of us can travel to the land of our choice and experience for ourselves. The Organization Afro-American Unity will encourage the Afro-American travel to Africa, the Caribbean, and other places where our culture has not been completely crushed by brutality and ruthlessness. The next point is education. The next point after that is economic security. And then there's self-defense. And then they go into some national concerns, in which they deal with why they use the term Afro-American and don't want to reject terms like Negro and colored. And it ends by saying, we accept the use of the term Afro-American, African, and Black man in reference to persons of African heritage to every other part of mankind goes this measure of just respect. We do not desire more, nor shall we accept less. Yeah, general consideration, they speak about some general considerations there. Then they got worldwide concerns. And the worldwide concerns are about basically the neo-colonial control of Africa. If you read in the autobiography where Malcolm X tells you what he said in Ghana, yeah, to the Americans that were there, you know what I'm saying? When they were basically over there trying to, you know, get a foothold in the Ghana economy, and he was cussing them out on a platform over there. You know what I'm saying? That's another subject for another time still, but very, very important information. So yeah, I just wanted to read from the program, the Organization Afro-American Unity, in it. I got a whole video where I'm reading the entire program on my channel if anybody's interested. You know, like that.
Yeah, I mean,
ain't no Sunni coolism in that, my bro.
Exactly. And that's the problem. Why I even held on to it. But like I said, that thing there, I think, yeah, it would never have the impact until you actually see. And I'm saying it can't really be done until you hear Sunnis scratch and itch and fumble and stutter and all that kind of shape shifting they like to do. You know what I mean? When you put the simplest things to them, you know what I mean? So,
but bro, to be honest with you, I think this is one of a humble critique of you, if I may. Yeah, I think personally, you don't even need to debate a Sunni, yeah, on the subject. If you want to teach on the virtues of what you call true Islam or Shiaism or whatever, to black people, then to teach on that. You know what I'm saying? I don't see why you need an opponent to do it. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's
the true opponent is Pan-Africanism. Your true opponent is Shaka.
Yeah. Whenever you would teach, or this is how I ended up doing what I'm doing, is that every time I'm discussing, so somebody would just be in a conversation, and it'd be a Muslim, yeah, and then they'll start saying, "Well, you believe, and what about Muhammad?" And I'm saying, "No, Sunnism. Everyone is Sunnism." So how it sort of started off with me thinking, you know what? Let me not even teach my thing. Let me just deal with these Sunnis here. Is because every time they would butt in and say, "He's lying. He's from Rafidi. These Kafirs. They're Jews in the Ummah." They're all of these different words. They kept coming and interrupted. So that's why I had to get harsh with them. I get that,
bro. I'm not saying you shouldn't debate, but I'm saying, to me, if I can't see, like, you see, when it comes to, I know there's not a lot of them over here anyway, like more other places in the world. But as a Pan-Africanist, I come across Pan-Africanists who are Sunni. Yeah, I don't come across a lot of Pan-Africanists who are Shia. I'm not seeing this movement of black people in what you refer to as true Islam that is speaking to their black empowerment in this thing. I see it among the nation. I see it among even the Moors. Yeah, I see it among some Sunnis. I don't see it among what you are dealing with.
What you have to remember is, brother, is that where it's coming from. To be honest, there's a lot of people converting. There's a lot of black people converting. They don't generally have this. What's the word to put? You know, like how I'm outspoken and I'm aggressive if necessary. Yeah. Most of them have that kind of humble, you know, intellectual, almost like the savior, the Imam Mahdi's coming type of thing. Do you know what I mean? They generally don't have that. A lot of them are following other people in that. Do you get me? So it's kind of like, well, you know, they're not confident enough to study for themselves.
But you're saying the tenets of the religion,
this is what the thing is.
But my point is that you're saying the tenets of the religion should inspire them to do so, and it organically, speaks to and relates to their blackness, and has a liberation ethic, in relation to their specific history. So I know, for example, like the nation, their thing is specific to black people, innit? They've come from a message. The Moors, they try to relate specifically to black people. Whether I agree with them or not is secondary. I understand what their intention is. I don't know of that like, for example, if I say Sheikh Amadou Bamba and the Balfours, their thing was specific to like the African people who they were around at the time, innit? You know what I'm saying? Like and creating something that was that had a liberation ethic in relation to those circumstances of fighting off colonialism. Yeah, like these are things that are you can study throughout history.
No, I hear that, but I mean, then I could go back to the Zanj Rebellion, right, which is the biggest slave rebellion ever.
Yeah, but the Zanj Rebellion, some of them were Muslims, but a lot of them were traditionalists and so-called Bantus. You know what I'm saying? And they were fighting.
No, that was led by the Shia, bro. You can't. To be honest, there was a whole heap of different.
That's what I'm trying to say. There was apparently there was a Shia leader,
but it was led by the Shia lot. But obviously you had
I suspect
all different type of people. They were all band together.
Yeah, but I suspect, and I suspect here, and I'm going to put this out there because I'm studying the Zanj Rebellion. I suspect that there is even some revisionism involved in the elevation of Muslims in the leadership of the rebellion. For you know what I'm saying? Because I find, bro, this is no disrespect to anybody that's Muslim on the planet, but I find let's say Sunni Muslims then, what's it called? Very extremely revisionist in relation to Islam and slavery, as far as African people are concerned. You see what I'm saying? So when I read sources, particularly
what's revisionist means that they remix the truth.
They
make it favor them.
Big Puff Daddy remix, yeah. You know what I'm saying? of things like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about man like Sheikh Hakeem Quick, and others who I know who have spoken specifically on Islam, African people, and slavery, and I find them to be revisionist, innit? So I'm not saying that there weren't Muslims involved. There were Muslims involved in the rebellion.
What are you saying? Next discussion with Uncle Dan Juma.
Right? At the same time, it's that they were rebelling against Muslim enslavers as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the other side of that.
No, but this is my whole point. Sunni, that's the whole point. I'm bringing it up to you. But what you have to remember is this is known to be one of the most well-documented slave rebellions in history. That's what you have to remember. Like it went on for years, and it said that there was so much blood that the Zanj spread. Do you get what I'm saying? No, I mean at the end of the day, it wouldn't. You know, it's just something which, in regard to this, I don't think you could really put on top of it. You know, the leader being this particular individual who was a descendant of Imam Ali and was Shia and all of that. You know what I mean? You couldn't really. I don't know how. No, would you do that?
I'm not.
I mean?
I'm saying I'm saying all of that may well be true. You know what I'm saying? I'm not denying any of it. I'm just saying that, for example, bro, they do the same thing with slavery rebellions in the Caribbean. Like so they tell you that Paul Bogle was a Christian, yeah, and you know what I'm saying, them kind of things. They used to write the Bible in them something there. But you have to delve into some different science, yeah, like and more traditionalist individuals who would tell you about what was going on in the bush, yeah, and the traditionalist oaths that are being taken, the ceremonies that were going on, and them kind of things there. My only point is that because our history because the world that we live in elevates the traditions of Abraham, yeah. And by the way, you pulled a fast one the other day, you know, because you talk about the Islam of the Quran, yeah, right? Doesn't the Quran isn't the phrase religions of Abraham in the Quran?
No.
I believe I'm correct.
The religion of Abraham the upright. Yeah.
Right?
It's not. It's saying it was his religion too. Not he owns it or it begins with him. Because it also says that Ibrahim was the Shia of Noah. So if he is of a supporter of the group of Noah, then Noah would have to be a Muslim before him.
I'm not denying that, bro. What I'm saying is the term Abrahamic religions is validated by the Quran.
No, it can't. That's what I'm saying. Islam cannot be that though. It can't be.
It can't be Abrahamic religion.
Because bro, it doesn't make sense. Because if Noah was a Muslim,
this is Quran, you know, bro. This is Quran, not Hadith, innit? So I'm saying if the Quran uses the term Abrahamic religions, yeah.
No, the Quran don't use that. No. It says the religion of Abraham the upright. So it's saying his religion was also Islam. You understand?
All right, I'm gonna come back to you on this one. You get me?
Yeah. It's saying that the religion. It's like saying it's the same way as if we, let's say people in Jamaica and whatever had an ancestor.
You mean you're saying that the religion that Abraham followed, not Abraham's religion?
But it don't mean that the people before him weren't of that religion too. It's just there's a particular individual.
Yeah, no, but my point is that if a religion is referred to as the religion of Abraham, yeah, it's like God when in the Bible when he comes to you and says, "I am the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." It doesn't mean that he was only related to God of Isaac and God of Jacob, but these people have significance in relation to validation for this God to the people that they're speaking to.
I hear what you're saying, but when they say Abrahamic faith, that there is something specific in relation to people whose religion centers around human beings. Christianity centers around a human being. Judaism centers around a human being. Islam does not. That's the difference.
So does Allah refer to himself in similar terms as being the God of Isaac and these things?
No. No, the terms aren't this. I know what you mean, but they're not in the Quran.
All right.
Allah's like the Lord of the heavens and the earth, stuff like that.
You know, I know about them things there. You know what I'm saying? But
doesn't he say that Israel is above all mankind and jinn?
Being the God of them.
No, I hear you. I'm still affirming though that it's the same prophets, isn't it? So these are the same people who, like, as far the Quran validates the same people them that the Bible and the Torah does.
Yeah, it literally says Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Jacob. Bro.
This is what you have to remember. It's different religions. So the twist that the Hebrews have given the Torah and the Bible is not what the Quran is saying.
One second. What was you saying there?
I said it literally talks about like the Abraham, Isaac, or Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Jacob in the Quran. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all together.
In what context though? Sorry, is this God talking?
Like in following the religion of Abraham.
Right. That's it. So, alright, cool.
No, yeah, but Shaka, ask Isa.
More.
Doesn't the Bible say that Israel is above all mankind and jinn?
Is that what he's trying to say?
See how Isa's not answering?
No, he can't hear you, bro. So Ezra's asking you a question, Isa. 1 second.
Well.
So doesn't the Quran say that Israel was created above all mankind and jinn?
Yeah, they were given a status in the past.
What does the Quran say? I don't forget that. Does the Quran say that Israel was created above all mankind and jinn?
No, not created. That's what I'm saying. They were chosen and given a status, not
okay, and chosen above all mankind and jinn. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, the whole of creation basically, but that's what it says. Yeah, Alameen, which basically means all the worlds. So some people say that's mankind and jinn. Some say that's everything in the universe. But yeah, let's say mankind and jinn. Yeah, I ain't got no problem with that. That's a past status. I agree with that.
It's a past status. Yes, it don't exist no more.
That's right, because it is a past tense. That, remember. This is what it says. Remember the favor I bestowed upon you, and favored you, and what's the word? When you were superior to, basically, I held you superior to all mankind and jinn.
So why would it tell them to remember if it's only past tense? So why would it tell them to remember if it's only the past tense?
It tells them to remember the covenant too. That's not a past tense concept.
It's only past tense. There it is. So it says, "O children of Israel, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you, and that I preferred you to the Alameen, mankind and jinn," and then in brackets of your time period. But it's a past tense.
How can it be past tense if it's telling them to remember, bro? Think about it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. The first, if I tell you to remember something, yeah, then obviously it's a past tense, isn't it? Because
Isa, if you was the king of the world, yeah, if you're created above everyone else in the world, yeah, and then God tells you to remember, I created you, Isa, above everyone else in the world. Does that mean you're not above anyone else anymore? If he's telling you to remember that.
No, but this is what I'm saying. The word here, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you, and that I preferred, past tense, preferred you to the Alameen, mankind and jinn.
So why is he telling them to remember that he preferred them, basically?
If you just read the verses, keep going, yeah, then it lets you know it's definitely a past tense in relation to what's coming.
What does Allah say? What does Allah say about Arabs in the Quran?
Well, I mean,
that they are the most ignorant.
Muhammad's interpretation, then Arabs are hypocrites according to Ali Muhammad.
The Quran says that they're the most ignorant as well. Yeah, that's it.
Huh?
The Quran says that Arabs are the most ignorant.
I'm saying it. Okay, so this is what it says. This is what it says in chapter 9, verse 97. Yeah. Now the translation they give is the Bedouins.
Yes.
What? Which is Al-Arab, which some say is different to Arab, right? So it says the Bedouins are the worst in disbelief, kufr, and munafiq, nifaq, which is hypocrisy, are most likely to be in ignorance of the limits which Allah has revealed to His Messenger, and Allah is the All-Knower, the All-Wise. So
is that all He says about Arabs? Is that the only thing He says about them?
Sorry?
Is that the only thing He says about them?
No. I mean, in relation to Arab, like referring to those words, it isn't mentioned that many times. You know what I'm saying? As a people in that way, it just says like believers and Muslim and thing like that.
And Hebrew is only mentioned once.
That's a bit out of order. Let me read the next verse. Sorry. And so this is like the Bedouins in general. And the next verse says, and of the Bedouins there are some who look upon what they spend as a fine and watch for calamities for you. On them be the calamity of evil. And this is the one I was supposed to read, sorry. And of the Bedouins there are some who believe in Allah on the last day and look upon what they spend in Allah's cause as a means to nearness to Allah, and they cause of receiving the messenger's invocation. Indeed, these are the means of nearness for them. Allah will admit them to His mercy. Certainly Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, and this is the thing again. These verses, remember this, you know, according to the Sunnis, all the companions are believers and going to heaven. I just read you 2 verses which are telling you no. Remember, bro, this is what I tell you. It's going to be easy to smash the Sunnis. What's this? And the next one. And among the Bedouins around you, this is 9:101. Some are hypocrites, and so are some among the people of Medina who persist in hypocrisy. Look at this part now. You, O Muhammad, know them not. You don't know them. We know them. We shall punish them twice, and thereafter they shall be brought back to a great horrible torment. So, simple question: if the Prophet doesn't even know some of the hypocrites, some of them, because he was given the names of some of them, then how can I just trust all the companions like the Sunnis are telling me when the Quran says this? This is what I tell you, bro. They don't follow the Quran. There's loads more of this anyway, but that's just a little piece.
All right. Good. So yeah, back to the hadith of Malcolm X now, yeah?
Hey, real quick, I gotta go real quick. So I want to drop 2 verses. One that backs up what you were saying, Shaka, and one that backs up what Ezra was saying. Like, so Isa, I want you to just check these verses out and deal with them when I'm done right quick. Like, so Surah 2, ayat 133, it says, and this is the Sahih International Version, right? Oh, were you witnesses when death approached Jacob, when he said to his sons, "What will you worship after me?"
So 2:133, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me get it. 2:133.
And this is the back of what Shaka was saying just a second ago. Oh, were you witnesses when death approached Jacob, when he said to his sons, "What will you worship after me?" They said, "We will worship your God and the God of your fathers, Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Isaac, one God, and we are Muslims in submission to him." Right? That's Surah 2, ayat 133. And to what Ezra was talking about, Surah 2, ayat 40, it says, "O children of Israel, remember my favor which I have bestowed upon you, and fulfill my covenant, that I will fulfill your covenant, and be afraid of me." So part of the covenant of Israel is their chosen status. It doesn't ever make it past tense. In fact, it says, "Remember it and fulfill it, that I will fulfill your side."
Let's do with the Israel.
But I got a dip, so I'll let Shaka Ra and Ezra take it from there.
What was that last one you said? The Bani Israel.
Surah 2, ayat 40. "O children of Israel, remember my favor which I have bestowed upon you, and fulfill my covenant, that I will fulfill your covenant, and be afraid of me."
Okay.
Excellent, because end of the day, that shows that Israelite Muslims, ain't supposed to be following Islam. They're supposed to be following the covenant that was given to them according to the Quran. It says, Isa, let me finish, bro. according to the Quran, we just heard it clearly. It said, children of Israel, uphold your covenant. Get me? So what covenant did the children of Israel have? The covenant that Moses made. Yeah. So that's it. We ain't supposed to be following Islam according to the Quran.
More, don't tell me he's dipped, you know. This guy does. Oh, children of Israel, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you and fulfill my covenant with you. Hey, Busby. Right? So that I may fulfill my covenant, so that you may fulfill your covenant with me and fear none but me. And believe, this is the next verse, and believe in what I have sent down, confirming that which is in with you in the Torah and the Injil, and be not the first to disbelieve therein. So Orthodox more, the next verse is telling them part of this covenant which they're supposed to fulfill is to believe.
What did it say that?
Even
Did it say that?
I'm joking.
Did it say it's a part of the covenant? Why? Don't lie, bro. It said, and it's an addition. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not. It's still telling the Israelites to follow their own covenant.
The first thing is to remember something, yeah?
Yeah.
That's the first step, right? Then it says, fulfill my covenant. Now you're telling us what covenant you're talking about, or you're saying it's talking about, but we're saying there's a covenant mentioned with the prophets, right, of Bani Israel, prior to Prophet Muhammad, which is relating to Prophet Muhammad, and therefore with the whole of the children of Israel relating to Prophet Muhammad. But you're disagreeing with that. And I know you're going to disagree, but my point is the next verse after it is saying, and believe in what I have sent down, confirming, which is the Quran, that which is with you. So
But how do you know it's wait there? How do you know that's the Quran? Because it says the Torah. One sec. It says the Torah, the Injil, which is the gospel. Isa, one sec. Let me ask you the question, innit? Let me ask you the question. I'm saying, how do you know that is the Quran? Because it says the Torah, believe in the Torah, believe in the Injil, which is the Gospels, yeah, and what we have sent down. So how do you know that's not Revelation?
Right, I said
that's not the book of Revelation. Because that's not the Gospels, that's not the Torah.
Down, in brackets, this Quran confirming that which is with you.
Oh, the brackets say this Quran.
Right, so in brackets says the Torah, which was given to Bani Israel, and the Injil. So what sent down, which is confirming them, is what the Quran is. I don't even believe this guy's. Oh no, what the hell was that turning off? Sorry, one thing turning
Yo,
off.
anyway, man's got to run here because you lot are firmly engaged in the Battle of Abraham right now.
Nah.
I'm on that, bro. I'm not. What's going on with that?
You get me? So yeah, content, you there?
What the hell does this mean, like?
Man, I run. You get me? Content, you there?
Yeah. What you say? I cut out.
Yeah, man, I have to run away still. You know what I mean?
I know you, fam. Respect for coming on. Yeah, that means you're taking Issa with you as well. And I like.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Unless Issa, you can jump on the thing still back on the stream.
What's that?
You're on my phone, innit? So can you jump back on the stream?
Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
Say that. I didn't even.
Yeah, jump back on the stream with it.
I didn't even recognize. Oh, like, this thing was charging. No, I have to go in, innit? Because this thing only got 2% left.
Right.
Where you got a solar panel for your charger?
Yeah, you need to upgrade, bro. You need to upgrade, you know.
I've got a bicycle. Man pedals a bicycle to charge up his phone.
Because I've been rinsing this phone out because I'm on a different phone now, and the other phone is what I use for them thing there. And boy, that battery, I think.
Are you in a laptop, bro? What one? You know what I mean?
I have a laptop still, but
you're not.
Well,
It comes like you're not on deal, my G.
Virus and things like that.
Because the topic gone off anyway, still from the title of the video anyway. So all I'm saying, next week.
Again, the topic what?
The topic divert from the original thing, you hit me, but
yeah.
What I'm saying, next week in the park, you rolling Sunday, yeah?
I should be. I should be, yeah. Yeah, stay tuned in it. We'll see it.
Yeah, well, Issa, my name's gonna run up on you on the you got to prove Sunni coolism, you get me? You got to demonstrate that. You get me, sir? Hopefully we see that, and we can even pick up this again, part 2, part 3, or 2.3 or whatever, with some Sunni Muslims. You get me?
That would be funny, but yeah, I mean,
I got a couple of them lined up already, man. They're on it, man.
Be nice. Be nice to the Sunni Muslims.
What's
the language?
I
IC3,
agree.
make sure you're there.
IC3. Tell him again.
Be nice. Be nice.
Right. Remember, the Quran says, "Do not dispute amongst people of the book, except in the best of ways," confirming what came down to you and what came down to them.
Okay. Okay. Them man, that's what I'm saying. The man love violating their own books, you know, fam.
Imagine man quote the verse, knock out, and the next verse is telling them to believe in the Quran. Can you believe that? You can't tell us all more, bro.
Yeah, but
hold on, right? Real quick, just so you understand, I don't agree with Ezra's concept because I completely agree that the Quran is telling the Israelites how to get their stuff straight and where they fell off at. Like there's if the Quran stipulates that there's a double blessing for people of the previous scripture that confirm their scripture and the Quran. It doesn't mandate that you have to follow the Quran, but it says it like there's a call to, like there's a blessing to it if you do.
What is the covenant, bro? What was that covenant?
The covenant given to him at Horeb in Moab.
What?
In the Old Testament.
No, listen to my question. After it said about Israel, and it says, fulfill my covenant I'll fulfill my covenant with you, you should fulfill your covenant with me. What covenant is that talking about in that verse?
Oh, is this the part where they say, this day I have completed my favor upon you?
No.
Right.
Just the one he read there, chapter 2, verse 40.
the everlasting covenant of Moses.
So, like I said, the covenant given at Mount Horeb in the Torah, and the covenant given in Moab in the Torah, which is also called the Furqan, the criterion in the Quran.
Exactly.
The criterion in the Quran. What?
The Torah is called the criterion twice in the Quran.
No, I'm asking you a simple question. What is the covenant? Do you know what covenant is?
The covenant of Moses, the everlasting covenant.
No, Orthodox more. Do you know what a covenant actually is?
Yeah, it's a contract, and you want the actual verses where they say "cursed be," like where they actually do the verbal cursing of themselves to the contract.
This side of it, and what was Allah's side of it? What did they have to do to keep their contract?
They have to keep the law that was given to them, and if they don't keep the law, they'll go into captivity.
In this verse, yeah.
In the verse that you're talking about, okay, so is there another covenant described for Israel in the Quran?
Brother, listen to
no, answer the question. Don't.
Yeah, it's got verses before and verses after. Yes, so they're flowing with a theme going through.
So I've given my answer to your question, right? So if you don't agree with my answer to your question, rock on, give me your concept on it, right? But I'm saying that covenant there. So it says in Surah 10, ayat 94, if you're in doubt as to what's coming down to you, go to the people of the previous scripture for clarity, right? So when I go to the previous scripture, specifically the Torah, which is also called the criterion twice in the Quran, right? A statute book, right? The covenant given there is the covenant given at Horeb and the covenant given in Moab. These are the laws given to Moses, etc. The covenant given to Moses and the people, where the people themselves swear to the Most High and curse themselves to these laws. If they don't follow them, they're going into captivity.
The
laws
everlasting
covenant, etc.
Everlasting. Doesn't it say the covenant is everlasting?
So if there's another covenant in the Quran for the Israelites, all I'm asking you to do, bro, is just give me the ayat in the verse and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this is
ayat.
Shaka, how you gonna handle these people?
So again,
what is your strategy dealing with these people of the book?
Oh, I got the covenant of Shanga. You know what I mean?
Okay, I don't know if that's strong enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's strong enough to do with the Jews, Christians, and Muslims all at the same time. That's serious.
The covenant of Shanga, you know, and the hand of Ogun and all that something. Yeah, and that we do.
Okay, we'll see how strong it is.
Shaka, give me just 60 seconds with this guy.
Yeah, go on. I'm trying to log off, bro.
You gotta go, yeah?
Yeah, but go on, 60 seconds.
It just says, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you and fulfill your obligations to me, right? So this, which I bestowed upon you, it's always remember the past tense. And fulfill my covenant with me, right? So this is the whole thing in relation to the covenant that they have with Allah. Now, if this is the thing of the Lord, then why are you bringing this particular thing that is an overseer of something else? If I've already got the Torah, right?
Yes.
And that's my thing, why are you even mentioning me to another book? Why are you telling me believe in this other book? This other book which is saying, and if you read further down, and mix not truth with falsehood, which is the next verse. Nor conceal the truth that Prophet Muhammad is in your book. And perform salah and give zakah, which is the next verse. right? And bow down, submit yourself to Allah. These are the next verses, bro. I don't know what this Orthodox one is playing at, bro.
So is prayer and tithing not part of the Israelite concept?
Pardon? Is what?
Do the Israelites not pray and do they not give charity via the tithe?
Bro, listen to what I'm saying. When
Isa, why don't you ever answer the question, bro?
And do the
listen what I'm saying, and then going on to something else.
It's real simple, bro. Like, so you already said so yourself that the covenant spoken of was past tense. What other past tense covenant with the Most High did the Israelites take? And what other covenant can you show me via the Quran, bro? Sir and ayah. Just stop wasting time.
Will come like unto Moses. You understand? And they must hear and obey him. That's one of the covenants. There was
You're dealing with the Furqani Muslim option. I don't want your opinion. I want the scroll. You're dealing with the Quranist. I don't want tafsir. I want the scroll.
Listen to what I just said. You said we must go.
I don't want to listen. I want to read, bro. Give me the scroll.
In the Quran, it says a prophet like unto Moses. Yes. And in the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy 18:18, it says a prophet like unto Moses. Yes or no?
What does that have to do with anything I just said?
What the hell?
Well, they have to follow according to Moses is talking to the children of Israel and telling them they have to follow a prophet like Moses. Yes, or just say yes or no.
No, it says I will raise up unto your brethren a prophet like unto Moses, bro.
From the midst of thee.
Yeah.
From the midst
so anyway, so check this out, right? So what about the Quran stipulates that the Israelites don't have to follow the Torah and they have to follow the Quran instead?
They have to follow the Quran instead of the Torah.
I'm waiting for some surahs and some ayats. I'm getting tafsir all day.
You said we have to look at the Old Testament. I've given you Deuteronomy 18:18. So don't come out the tafsir. You mentioned that.
So what about Deuteronomy 18:18? Switches up the covenant given to the Israelites at Horeb and at Moab. Just break that one down for me. Where does it say in Deuteronomy 18 that the person that you're talking about is going to switch up the covenants given to you at Horeb and at Moab?
Exactly.
It's yes or no. Does it say that? Yes or no?
No, it doesn't say what you're talking about in any way, shape, or form. It does not say there's a man coming to switch your covenant in the Horeb and the Moab. Nowhere in the book, anywhere.
A prophet like unto Moses.
It doesn't even.
No. Does it say that? Yes or no?
Isa, let me read this first. Genesis 17.
The last one, you know. Come on,
so Isa, you're asking questions and you haven't answered none, bro.
I know we ain't answered nothing.
Yeah, I'm not answering nothing till you answer at least one of my questions, bro. I already answered your question, right? You just don't like the answers.
Isa,
answer my question, bro. What surah and what ayah specifies another covenant for Israel?
Isa, jump on the show, innit?
Yeah, you might have to throw Leo or something.
Hey yo, show down, you know, fam. Now, cut out, you know. Yo, jump on business.
Big up Shaka, big up everybody with it down, big up the chat, big up my man Issa, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm gonna do a next one next week. I'm gonna try to do at least one a week. You get me? Where we just review whatever is the most explosive video of the week or something. A speaker's corner. You get me?
Yes, I.
Yeah.
You got all them like unto Marcus Garvey, you know what I mean? You know, Marcus Garvey.
My prophet right there, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
people, I forgot that.
Yeah, respect everybody, please. Blessings. Tano, yeah.
Bless up.
I respect everybody in the chat as well, man. I'm gone. See you next week. Peace.